all right. Hello, good morning, good evening, good day, good afternoon, and aloha. Welcome back to another episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review, your home for credible news, reviews, and commentary on everything UFOs and UAPs. I am your host, Luis Jimenez. We're missing Mike. He's in a meeting, running a little late. Should be here in a couple minutes, I'm hoping. We'll see. In the meantime, want to encourage everybody, first of all, say hello. Hello to Rather, Terry, Ethereal, Space Cowboy, Amelia, Scrack. I think it's the first time I've seen you in, so welcome. Amelia. I want to say Amelia, but I know it's not Amelia. I'll just call you Scrack. Welcome. Let's see who else. We got Gerald, Sneaky Toaster, welcome back. Debbie Sims, hello. How you guys doing today? Are you guys feeling pretty good? Alien Girl 111, of course, is always in the house. Anonymous Rex, hello. Jack, what is shaking? And here we go. We got our first guest in the house right now. The always reliable, the always sexy, the always, our lovable, huggable curmudgeon, Mr. Jazz Shaw. Hello, Jazz.
My friend. Yeah. Always here to, be the sexy, lovable dolphin guy.
Well, you succeed all the time. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. It was an exciting day. It's my day off, and I had to do a lot of weird stuff, around the house and whatnot, but been following a lot of the news, and I thought today was a really interesting day. There were quite a few new revelations that came out, and not all of them were groundbreaking if you're one of those people who sits there and scrutinizes every bit of data.
Right.
But it was interesting, and I think we're moving slowly but surely towards something that could be at least potentially very interesting in the next couple of months. And that's something that Lou Elizondo alluded to today.
Yeah.
So we'll
see.
No,
he did. We're going to talk about it. Before we do, though, we're still waiting on Mikey. He's in a meeting. He should be here in a couple minutes. I wanted to remind everybody, of course, subscribe, hit the bell notification. That way you don't miss any time we go live. Also, check out my Patreon. The link is in the description below. My Linktree is there. All of the links to every single thing that I do is in the Linktree, so check that out. So I guess, Jazz, let's talk about, the thing you're most excited today. I'm going to wait. We have a really big announcement for the show, by the way, which I think you're going to get a kick out of, because I haven't even told you yet.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm
at least I don't think you know, but we'll see. I mean, we booked a pretty big guest last night, so it's going to be exciting to bring him on the show. But let's talk about, because I was honestly today I took the day off. I haven't had a day off in about 6 or 7 days. So I did a little golfing this morning. Didn't really pay attention to my Twitter, and came back and saw there was a Jack Valet book, and everybody was very upset about it. So I was trying to figure out what was going on with that. And then I rewatched the part 2 interview from the New York Post and Stephen Greenstreet, because I was like, I want to watch it again. There's something about it that I wanted to check out again, and I'm glad I did. So let's start wherever you want to start, Jazz, which is where?
I don't know. There were a number of points in Stephen's interview that I found interesting. One of them was that he actually got Lou Elizondo to go a little bit further than he's done in some other interviews, and I mean, not a huge, he wasn't like, oh, I have the answer to show me them aliens,
right.
He never says that, know, but he did get into a conversation about things that he doesn't seem so excited about. Mm-hmm. And one of them was a reference to somebody, and I'll let you say the name, when he said, well, there's a lot of stuff going on out there. I don't have the exact quote in front of me. And he's like, well, but if you're out there trying to summon aliens, through meditation, and things like that, and having flares drop near you, And he did seem to discount that. Like, he was still more focused on the nuts and bolts, aspect of what is the technology? What is it we're seeing? Is it a threat? Which he's done consistently all along.
Right.
But he did seem to be discounting some of the elements of, there's a lot of experiencers out there, a lot of people who are claim to be abductees. Are they? I have no idea.
Right.
There's a few cases I find compelling, but but he was just like, let's stay focused on the technology because this could be a threat. And at the same time, in our community, in ufology, there's always a lot of divisions. It's a very self-destructive community.
Right.
And I found that part interesting.
Yeah, well, I liked there was a couple of moments where Steve was like, whoa, 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 and he actually jumped on top of him and stopped him. One of those moments was the analogy that Lou was using to describe a car crash. This is something that he teased yesterday to sort of sell to people to, hey, you want to watch this second episode. It was a great, they almost ripped a page out of Jeremy Corbell's advertising for his film. It was a good tease. And so the analogy, if you guys are familiar, was, Stephen Greenstreet was asking, how do we study these things, other than looking at them or besides witness testimony and chasing them with planes and taking photos and video. And then Lou added radar. And then the analogy that Lou started to use was a car crash. He's like, just imagine a car crash, and when that happens, there's an investigation usually, especially if it's a deadly car crash. And so the cars are taken apart, the computers inside the cars are looked at, the telemetry is looked at, the speed, all of these data points that those cars collect.
Remote cameras that might have been watching it.
All of those things. And so then Stephen Greenstreet stops him and is like, whoa, wait a second. So are we saying that we've walked, because in that scenario, that means that you're looking at both cars. You're walking around both cars and getting an assessment of what happened. So have we walked around essentially one of these things? And then, of course, Lou paused and, tilted his head down, didn't look in the camera. It made him a little uncomfortable, it seemed like. And then he said, well, I got to be very careful when I answer this. And then he said, that would be ideal to have a craft to walk around. And then he didn't expound really past that. But I just thought it was a really, really cool moment. And I'm curious to know if Stephen, as a reporter, if he had an inkling whatsoever, if maybe that was actually in a scenario where, hey, maybe they did walk around one of these things and take some real good measurements of it. And they can't talk about it. I mean, that sounds crazy. I mean, what do you think?
No, I'm with you. Lou has consistently backed off of a lot of these questions. He gets up to a certain point and he goes, wow. And I'm not trying to mock Lou. I respect what he's doing. I used to have a secret security clearance. Yeah. I was in the military. I understand what he's doing. But he gets to that point where he says, wow, that's a really good question. And then he goes a little ways and then backs off. And that's kind of what we saw again here, I think. You take what he said, which was not a denial that he had seen any evidence of, I saw the two cars that were crashed.
Right.
But also, well, that would be ideal. That doesn't say we did see it, we didn't see it. But you compile that with the recent interviews that Harry Reid did, where he was like, well, I've been told that Lockheed Martin has recovered crash materials. He didn't say, he specifically said he didn't see them. He tried to see them and he was denied if there was a them to see, but he didn't go that far. So everybody seems to walk up to that line, and then because they either didn't see it or if they did, perhaps in Lou's case, they can't talk about it.
Right.
They back off and walk away.
Right.
So I think that leads into what are we going to find out at the end of June, and I thought one of the last questions that Stephen Greenstreet asked, what's coming? Can you give us a nugget? He used the word nugget.
Right. Right.
And
I
it's
love
like
that word.
Well, keep your eyes open, keep listening for the next 30 days, because there's probably some big things coming. But we're still, I'm sorry, Luis, we're still left trying to stitch this together. And it's like, does that mean there is something big coming in June?
Right.
Or does it mean we're hoping that people that have been, I'm going to go ahead and say it, have been lying and obfuscating for 75 years are suddenly going to turn around and show us something in June?
Right.
And I don't think we have enough information to go on to say that.
No, I agree. I can totally agree with all that. Before I get to the next interesting part that I found in the interview, I want to give a shout out to Belleville Pete again from Africa, sending us 180 ZAR from South Africa, I believe it was. He said, "Hopefully, it's at least $10 this time, dude. Keep up the good work."
No, I'm an expert on that, and that is at least $140,000 in American money.
Yeah. So, we did the exchange rate the last time. He sent 100 ZAR. It was $6.90. So yeah, this should be about $10.
Yeah.
This should be about $10. Somewhere between those two numbers, you say. So thank you, Belleville. That's awesome. Thank you guys. The super chats have been insane, you guys. I can't even tell you. They've actually been helping me not have to work and help me do this show. So the more you send them, obviously, the better it is for the show and for you guys. And also, if you don't want to go that route, again, I've got the Patreon down below, so check it out. So the other, there's two other moments that I found also interesting, and I wanted to get your take, Jazz. The first was that he felt this technology, wasn't breaking the laws of physics. It was very much within physics. It was just a different form of physics.
Right.
So an advanced, I guess, aerospace sort of physics. I can't remember the term he used. I can't believe I'm forgetting that. But it didn't. And he said that also we could see this sort of physics popping up within the next 100 years. And that was like a long, at the longest it'd be 100 years, and he shortened that to a generation or two. So that was found
2 to 3 generations.
Yeah. So I'm curious to know what do you think he means by that? Because does that mean that you think someone has figured out the physics of this? Because I've always said that I would never put it past human ingenuity, technology, and just sheer will. That especially when it comes to something that is supposed science fiction, it seems like science fiction almost starts to become science fact a little bit more every single day. And those science fiction, like Star Trek, that inspired a lot of scientists in those days. And So now we're seeing all of those things sort of come to the table. So I'm curious to know, do you think we've figured this out, and maybe what we're seeing is the military's had this for a little while?
There's two sides to that coin, and that was you're identifying one of the points in the interview that I found one of the most interesting, because I've addressed this a number of times on our network. And Lou was not wrong. He wasn't just pulling something out of his butt. He's talking about principles that have been since the 1920s, 1930s examined as a possibility, that there could be, Star Trek didn't come up with the warp drive,
right.
That was thought about long beforehand,
right.
But it relies on a lot of questions that haven't been answered yet about the physical nature of our universe, how things happen on the macro and on the micro. There's a huge gap between those that, as far as we know, that gap has never been addressed.
Right.
So and people have been working on this, and we could get to a point where maybe in a few generations, with all the work that's being done, on super colliders and things like that, maybe we're going to figure that out. Did we already figure it out? Did we figure it out in 2019? Did we figure it out in 2004?
Mm-hmm.
Did we figure it out in 1947? Because we've been seeing weird stuff for a long time.
Right.
So did somebody figure out how to make a warp bubble in World War II, and nobody else has figured it out since then? That sets off some bells for me.
Yeah.
I suppose, can we entirely rule out the idea that the United States or the Russians or the Chinese or somebody, made a breakthrough like that? Well, they would have had to make that breakthrough quite a while ago, and it would be a massive breakthrough. I mean, if you can establish a warp bubble, the world changes.
Yeah,
Everything changes. Instantly.
Unless they don't know how to
change.
Unless they don't know how to control it, though, right? Like, what
but if they don't know how to control it, they can't build a ship with it, right?
No, that's true. That's true. But like, it's almost. I always think back. Michio Kaku had said, and I use this example quite often, that. And by the way, thank you, Terry Martin, for the $5 donation or the €5 donation. Have a beer on me. I will have a beer on you. Thank you very much. I was thinking back to what Michio Kaku said, and he says that in 20 years, we should have the technology to have a machine that can create matter. So the only issue with that machine is that from a commercial standpoint, that would be a nightmare to just throw into society and say, okay, figure out how to use the matter making machine, because one guy might build a bomb out of it. The other guy's going to build a pair of sandals, so it's just, there's got to be a way to introduce that technology. He said this technology will be capable in 20 years, but you won't see it in an everyday household for 100 years. Because the tech is just so crazy, and they can't think of ways to apply it yet, if that makes sense.
That makes sense in the sense that you're talking about it. I come from a family of Luddites. I freely admit it. Every time there's a major technological advance in human civilization, there's pluses and there's minuses, And the Luddites were the ones who were worried that when somebody came up with an automated plow, that they would be destroying the jobs of farmers, because now you're losing all those jobs. You amplify that out, to the future. And if somebody came up with a way to create almost, let's just say, limitless free energy, like 0 point energy, well, that would change the world, wouldn't it? Because suddenly you don't need to burn fossil fuels. You don't need to send people into coal mines. You've just got energy as far as the eye can see, right? At the same time, you've created something, if you've ever read the book 0 Point, that you can create enough energy out of a glass of water the size of a medium Starbucks coffee cup. That could destroy 3/4 of the planet's oceans if you had 0 point energy. So you might get something really great, but as soon as some crazy person gets a hold of it, they destroy you.
Right.
So, but I do think in terms of the interview, it's like, if that technology existed, if we could do something like that, number one, how is it that only one country, perhaps one person, figured that out, and nobody else contemporaneously has figured that out? And if they did figure it out, why didn't somebody use it? So for me, and that's no proof, I'm just saying philosophically, it sounds unlikely to me that some government drone came up with that,
Mm-hmm.
when some of the smartest minds working at CERN and everywhere else, they're just like, no, we're not there. But
Yeah.
some guy working as a GS-17 came up with it, and kept it secret for 50 years, and nobody else figured it out. I'm not saying I know the answer. I'm just saying I'm a little skeptical.
It's a little unlikely, that's for sure.
That's what I think.
Yeah. So UFO Dad hitting us up with a $10 donation. Thanks, Pop. You didn't leave a comment, so I guess he's just throwing in the $10 just to throw it in. You gotta love that. So awesome. Hey, we got this is gonna be fun. So we got Carl Vibe joining the chat. What is up, dude? How you doing?
Hey,
there's Carl.
Thanks for having me in. Can you guys hear me and stuff okay?
Yeah, no, we hear you,
right.
we see you. You sound good.
Trying to get my new pro setup going.
No, you're looking great. So Carl, for people who don't know you in the chat and are watching the show, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
I'm Carl Vibe. I've been doing YouTube for a long time, since 2009 on a family channel, but this is like my real passion. And on the Carl Vibe channel, I'm just getting started, getting ready to set up all the streaming stuff and start to jump in the mix and do all this.
Yeah.
Man, I've been stewing on this stuff my whole life, just like you guys.
Yeah.
It's been a huge thing. I've been studying and reading and following all of it forever, trying to piece it all together.
Mm-hmm.
How this stuff goes on and all the conspiracies behind it. It's fascinating. I think it's one of the biggest questions in reality that we face now that has the hugest implications, and everybody they don't realize that. They think it's not just like, oh, whatever, it's like pop culture, but really, I mean, this is huge reality bending stuff as it comes out and we find out. Because even if it is the government and they're keeping all this stuff secret, I mean, it's almost
still cool.
It's criminal at this point.
No, that's still a huge story. Carl's absolutely right. If somebody is sitting on the answers to technological questions that could totally salvage humanity and really turn us around, and they were like, well, no, you don't deserve to know, and we're going to be using this, but none of you get it. That's still a huge story.
The technology to travel at these G-forces and speeds, like I can't remember the numbers Lou Elizondo was pulling out there, saying that they've recorded the phenomenon flying around at, even if they're drones, they're going like 6,000 Gs.
Yeah, well, they're going from 0 to Mach 6,
and then in and out of the water
in a blink of a second.
Anybody who's ever been in an accident and relied upon an ambulance to get there, or life fly, immediately, like, you realize that, and how long we've been burning fossil fuels and all this stuff. I mean, the implications are huge in society as soon as you stop and think about it. Like, people deserve to know either way. For
sure. No, I think you're right. You make a beautiful point. Before we get to who just popped into the show, we got Jared Greenwald with a $5 pound. Thank you, sir. I did euro pound. I'm new to the super chat, you guys. So please be patient if I get the currency wrong. Unbelievable. They get so upset.
It's £5, which is equivalent to, I believe, 100,000 euros or $1 million.
And then we got Alex Garcia with a $20 super sticker. Dude, thank you. Guys, attach questions to these donations if you have them. I mean, we'll be more than happy to answer them. Thank you. That is killer. Michael, hello, welcome.
What's going on?
You haven't stopped. Your tie's still on.
This tie is for Jazz because it's a fish tie, and this is food. This is food for the dolphins.
We're on the same page, my friend. We're on the same page.
That was an amazing show that you did earlier, an interview with excellent questions. I was able to jump on there and catch that.
Tanaka?
Oh, yeah, with the implants and augmented reality and the cybernetics coming and all that. Wow, that was crazy.
I missed it. I was golfing.
Oh,
I was out too, but I will watch it.
Oh my God, I'm genuinely nervous about the future.
I know, it almost makes you wonder if, like, this stuff that's coming is what we're actually seeing with the phenomenon has already achieved that level, and these are like android drone things, and I don't know, it's so complicated. It's such a mystery how that might play into it, because if we're just coming on to this type of technology where we put an implant in and then everything runs Bluetooth and you don't have to have a computer and everything is, I mean, when you think about other civilizations or advanced technology, or if our government already has that, like, does that account for what we're seeing in a way? I don't know.
Dude, we actually dove it. Not only did we talk about that with Ryan today at the debrief about specifically Neuralink and this technology, the brain computer interface technology, but we also talked about it last night on the Singularity Lab. And bro, like the shit that's coming down the pike is growing so quickly and exponentially. And my biggest fear about the whole thing is it's all being led by these genius engineer billionaire types who are all about like creating the next amazing thing, but not necessarily the ethics involved. And so like there's this whole conversation we have to have about ethics that I'm just not sure is being had at the highest level.
We can't even figure out ethics as humans. Now we're going to apply them to machines. It's like it's
and billionaires.
Yeah, and let billionaires do it. Real quick, so Brandy Phillips is curious. Can someone explain the dolphin thing to me, please? I must have missed something. Does anyone want to give a crack at that? I can definitely tell you what the origin of it.
Is there somebody besides me that would like to do it? Because God, I've gotten tired of it. But go ahead.
So during the big phone home, Jazz Shaw was making his appearance, and there was a point made where we were talking about some type of technology, and Jazz linked the entire phenomena to the dolphins, just like in the book Last Hitchhiker's Guide or Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where basically the aliens were the dolphins, and the dolphins were just here because they wanted fish. It wasn't they were trying to take over. They didn't want to communicate with us. They just were here for the fish. And so it was a big moment. It's almost like what you had to be there kind of moments. Brandy, don't worry about it.
It was amazing.
It's an inside joke for the show. That's sort of where the origin of it. But
I think it evolved over time. So not only did it evolve on this show, but Jazz took the banner and ran with it on Twitter. And I think because we ran with it on Twitter, it just keeps getting better and better. So yeah, that's the story. But I think it's interesting that he did link it to dolphins and the phenomenon, because in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, it was really just about the fish. They didn't care about the humans. And I think there might be an interesting correlation here between the phenomenon and how it's explained in Hitchhikers.
That was a lot better than my answer, so thank you guys. Because I was actually serious. No, in the beginning, I just came out and I said that, and partially joking, I was talking about the idea that dolphins have, by body weight, larger brain masses than humans, and they have had, going back, huge distances before our monkey ancestors got brains that size. And there's all these other things about dolphins, right? They frequently in pools try to have sex with human women. Is that a hybrid program? Any of this sounding familiar? But they're really smart, and they lived on the land and they went back into the water, and everybody's still laughing. And I'm not being serious that there's actually dolphins inside the Tic Tacs.
It sounded like you were, and I was hoping you were.
Well, no,
there is a guy on.
Is my answer less probable than somebody figured out a way to come from El Centauri over here? It's just crazy stuff. But the dolphins are really smart. They have a weird evolutionary history. They have huge brains. They have a very complex language. Could they have built some spaceships? Okay, that sounds really dumb, but I can find you any number of people not watching the show who go, UFOs are bullshit.
Yeah.
And they'll go, well, that's just as stupid of an idea. I was just kind of setting up a thing like, we don't know the answers. And let's not write off anything.
For sure.
There's the entire legend that we're genetically modified. Are we so arrogant to think they didn't mess with all the life? If something else came and started terraforming our planet and then put us here in order to do a job. They probably did that in the ocean and different places. Who's to say, how much of that has been messed with and that is lost in our history.
All right, that's just crazy. It's obviously dolphins.
So we got another $4.99 donation from Afton Dill with no comment. Thank you for the donation. You guys are killing it with these donos. I mean, for a show with as little followers as we have and only having 53 people in the chat, it's insane how supportive you guys are, which is what gives us so much hope for this show. Because when we have 50,000 followers, this show's going to be insane. It's just going to be so crazy. But Alex Garcia did come up with a question after his $20 super sticker. And he writes, Luis, no one ever asked Lou Elizondo if he knows which agency intimidates UFO/UAP witnesses. This contradicts the no interest narrative. What are your thoughts? I think, Jazz, did you answer this question somewhere? I think we were talking about this in our private chat, weren't we? At some point,
I was just going and promoting the show again on social media, so I missed part of that.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
I know. Oh, go ahead. I have a thought on that when you're done.
Well,
can you ask the question again?
Yeah, so the question was, Luis, no one ever asks if Lou Elizondo, if he knows which agency intimidates UFO/UAP witnesses. This contradicts the no interest narrative. What are your thoughts?
That's getting into the whole, on one end, men in black thing, and on the other end, the idea that there are a lot of people in the government who don't want to talk about this, who don't want to support the Senate Select Intelligence Committee's request for a report, who might not want to participate in the investigation that's now being kicked off by the Inspector General's office. I think that's not a thing you can simplify that much if you're just asking my opinion, because I was in the military, I've worked in the government, and it's not that simple. I mean, there certainly are people who are opposed to discussing this in the government in very high positions for a variety of reasons, and I think Lou Elizondo is correct about identifying some of them. There are other people who are just more comfortable with not having anything uncomfortable being said,
Right.
And if you can keep everything in I will not say prosaic, because that's a horrible use of the word prosaic, but if there aren't terrestrial explanations for things, well, then it's better just say, we don't know yet, we're still examining it. So yeah, I'm not ready to say that anybody involved in this game has an answer and they're sending a smoke signal in this way. Yeah. I just don't think that's what's happening. I think there are people with their own agendas. Some of those agendas are not aligned with transparency. That's been clear for my entire life.
I mean, the only time I've ever heard of, say, I believe it was the CIA, that intimidated witnesses that had information on this topic was the Japan Air flight that happened in 1989. That was a really, really big case. And John Callahan, who was second in command at the FAA, had grabbed all of the radar tracking information and made copies of everything. And the CIA had come in, according to him, and said, this event never happened. It never took place. You're not allowed to talk about it. And if you do, you'll be in a lot of trouble. And that was basically the end of that interaction. If it's just the problem with these stories is that they're really difficult to prove. There's, I've never seen of a video of somebody taking, video or a recording of a CIA agent giving his identification or anything like that and threatening somebody. It's never happened in all the stories that have always been told about this kind of stuff. No one's ever come out with a recording of being intimidated. So that's what I would say to that. I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts, Mikey? Or
yeah, I mean, for me, I absolutely cannot answer this question because I have no expertise whatsoever. But I would say I am very curious about this idea of no interest. I don't buy that for a second. Like that just this idea that there's no interest and there's, you know, open investigations aren't going to look into potential, you know, people who have information or evidence. Like I don't buy that for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just for a second?
Yeah, please.
There's a big theme running around in this entire debate saying the government's not very good at keeping secrets. And if all this was crap, we would have found out about it by now.
Yeah.
I just want to say, from somebody that's has been watching from outside and within for more than 40 years, I will tell you that the civilian portion of the government, the congressmen, the people that work on staff for them, all of that, they're terrible at keeping secrets.
Right.
Everybody has a leveraged advantage to go if they know something juicy and go talk to the media. They're terrible at keeping secrets. If you start talking about the military, if you start talking about the intelligence agencies, they're really good at keeping secrets. And this is something that gets ignored. How long was the Tuskegee syphilis experiment program going on? It was almost 50 years.
Yeah.
Nobody said a word. How did the Manhattan experiment come off? Nobody said a word. We had stealth flights being tested out at Area 51. Nobody knew about that. It never got into the press until they were announced. We have half of the government that loves to blab. They love to run their mouths, and everybody goes, our government's terrible at keeping secrets. There's a whole other section of our government that historically can be shown. What was going on out at Montauk at the end of Long Island from the 1930s to the 1960s? We still don't know today. And there were a lot of people who knew. We have no idea. So I would like to dispel the idea for all of you saying, well, no, if this was happening, we'd know about it because the government's terrible at keeping secrets. No, politicians are terrible at keeping secrets. We have a lot of people in the government who are deep inside intelligence and military. They're very good at it.
And the compartmentalization is huge. The way that they are able to pass the buck on the liabilities and who's affiliated with what. We already know that, like, even in the direct military, they subcontract the dirty work to like the Blackwater type organizations and other side organizations that are really heavily controlled. And if there's, you know, and a lot of the government is, you know, in bed with corporations and doing all this stuff together with them. And then the corporations compartmentalize it even within themselves to keep the dirty stuff really, really secret. And they're very careful about all that. I mean, even the whole community of Roswell, allegedly, that whole incident, the entire town was basically threatened. And that's like a bad example. And they seem to have learned from. And then these stories, you don't really know, but it could be an organization that does not want this to get out, or they know maybe what happened, or they have an idea, and it's so sub-compartmentalized that the person that actually shows up to do the intimidation is 4 parts removed from the people that want it to be kept under wraps. And so even if you figured out who that individual was that was doing the intimidating, the deniability is broad.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. And go back and look a ways back. Tim McMillan at the debrief had gotten some really good information about the stuff that went on at Skinwalker Ranch. I realize that's not directly always UFO related stuff, but they handle a lot of that information. When I say they, I mean the government, by handing it off to private contractors. In that case, Bigelow Aerospace.
They're already claiming they do that with the reverse engineering of the recovered materials and things.
And
why wouldn't they do that quiet?
If a contractor for the government owns that material and they loan it to the federal government, it's not subject to FOIA.
Right.
You can't request that information because it doesn't belong to the taxpayers. It belongs to a subcontractor.
Well, hold on.
That's just one more example.
Real quick, I want to say Anonymous Rex threw in $5 to the donation. Please tell us about your own UFO sighting. If you want to hear that, I'm not going to do that today because we've got so much to talk about. I did tell that story last night on the UFO Garage podcast, so go check out their episode from last night. I was on there. And also Ryan Sprague will be releasing an entire podcast completely dedicated to my story, so check both of those out. So thank you for the $5 donation. We also had gotten another $20 donation from Alex Garcia, but we just answered that question that he put in there, and I saw it, and I guess he didn't think I'd seen it before. He sent another $20. Well, thank you. Either way, I'm sorry you didn't. I saw your question before you sent the money. I hope that doesn't bum you out, but I appreciate it genuinely. But yeah, next time just put your question in all caps, and if I see it, I'll try and see it. And if not, remember, guys, we take calls at the end of the show. So if you want to call in and ask your question without having to pay a dime, you can do that as well. So don't be intimidated by that. And then we got 2 more donations.
Dude,
I have to.
Street.
Yeah, dude, it's insane. I got to find this $50 donation. Okay, so there it is right there. Angel Street, my absolute favorite show on YouTube. Thanks. Are you kidding me? Yeah, dude, we need something. We need something for a $10, $5, $50. Like, this is getting crazy. Like, $50 donations. We've getting $100 donations in the last chat. Like, you guys.
You didn't miss the $100 czar that you just got.
No. Well, he sent the 180 czar earlier in the chat, and he's like, this should be at least $10. So then, yeah, he sent another 100, and he asked a question this time, and he says, have any of you maybe read Michael S. Hizer's The Facade? Would love to know your opinion. If you haven't read it, you really should, I think.
I read a review of The Facade. I have not read The Facade. I did find it extremely compelling.
I have not read that book.
I have not read it either.
I will check it out.
I'm Wikipediaing it right now.
Hurry.
Yeah, no, I haven't read it. I barely have time to read these days.
Well, that's what happens when you do 17 live streams a day.
Right. Yeah. No,
All
it's tough.
audio books for me.
Yeah, it's tough. What I was gonna say in regards to that question that we were talking about government not being able to keep secrets. I don't know if you guys heard the author of the New Yorker article had a podcast discussion with David Chang and another chef. So David Chang is a Michelin star chef that's based out of Los Angeles. He's a Korean chef, real hard ass guy, no nonsense dude. And
I love him. I love that guy.
Okay, so he thinks UFOs is just a bunch of bullshit. Like he really does not have time for it, and he thought the conversation was just bullshit. And this part of the conversation came into that. And this is where they really got it wrong. And this was coming out of the mouth of the author. And that was this idea that this conspiracy theory that this secret would be able to be kept over a 60-year period, they all thought that was nonsense, like just complete nonsense. And I was like, that is so wrong. But then again, I had to check myself and go, this is David Chang, who knows nothing about this topic. Right. And the end conclusion of the discussion, which I found, it gave me goosebumps when I heard it, was that they all came to the conclusion that they do not understand why the Pentagon, the Department of Defense, but more importantly, scientists are not discussing this as a possibility, not as a reality, but as like this should be on the table and discussed openly. Because one of the first things that the author had mentioned in this discussion was in the 1950s, Time Magazine, all of these very big major news publications or weekly magazines that were very popular in the day, it was front page stuff, the discussion of UFOs and our military involvement with it. And it wasn't until Roswell when all of that started to change, because then it became a thing of ridicule as soon as it was, oh, these are aliens, little men being found, things like that. And then that's how the disinformation campaign started.
Right about the same time as the
Luis,
CIA
can you put me in the
infiltrated
back room for a
Hollywood.
minute?
Yep, sure can. Say that again, Carl.
I said right about the same time that the CIA supposedly started moving in on Hollywood and affecting the productions there and funding a lot of the Hollywood and the way the story was being told. It's like after the early black and white depictions of the day the Earth stood still and some of that started to freak the public out, the CIA took notice of that and moved in even on Hollywood and supposedly affected the making of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and the whole way the stories depicted from Hollywood has been shifted. I mean, they even have helped, the Department of Defense helped fund the movie Top Gun and who knows what else in order to try and control the way the story's told and perceived by the public. And you just don't know. It's one of those compartmentalized parts of it that's hard.
But what do they have to advance? Like, what's the advantage? Like, I'm still trying to understand, even since the 1940s, what is the advantage of keeping the public in the dark? I mean, even if you don't know, right? If you don't know what these things are, or you do know what they are, what is the advantage of keeping the public in the dark? Like, why does that help the CIA or the FBI or the Department of Defense?
If it has to do with the nature of consciousness and reality in itself, and then it would completely crumble a lot of the major religions, and even the fact that people think that they're walking in a physical reality might completely be upended. I don't know why. That's a big.
That's a good point. I mean, that's a great point.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the reasons why the CIA has been messing with Hollywood for a long time. I mean, you got now Chinese investors investing in Hollywood films. For example, the new Top Gun film.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys knew this, but there was on the original jacket of Tom Cruise, I think there was a Tibetan patch of some kind.
Yeah.
And when
China
you see
said, nope.
Yep, China was like, you take that goddamn patch off. And so now in the new movie, when he puts on his original jacket, that patch is no longer there. And those are the little influences that happen all the time that people have no clue about. And so it wouldn't shock me if the CIA, put up a couple of ghost investors and we're like, yeah, we'll give your movie about Navy SEALs $200 million if you guys, sell it as a marketing tool, a recruitment tool.
I mean, that's the exact same thing with the NFL, right? The NFL, the Star Spangled Banner, was put in there by a relationship, a financial relationship with the military, and at the time, it was a 501c3 organization. It was a charitable the NFL until
the NFL was a charitable organization up until like the last 3 years, I think.
Yeah, it just changed.
It's a little bit terrifying to consider. Like, what if the answer to the phenomenon isn't just like spaceships coming from another planet out in space that we can kind of defend like a bug zapper against or something? What if it has to do with like revealing to the public that, I mean, most of these encounters display some kind of precognitive or telepathic connection or effects, or the people claim that something spoke into their mind. Even the pilot David Fravor, they talked about how the Tic Tac was at their destination where they were headed before the coordinates were even sent to them, like it was already on the radar, like it read their minds. And so the implications of revealing to the public that this is something that's always there, and even like maybe infiltrating your dreams at night, or even as you're walking around daydreaming in the day, feeling like these entities are around and account for the paranormal effects. Plus, like Skinwalker Ranch might reveal and stuff like that these things aren't just in spaceships from the sky, but interdimensional and around, like almost like a poltergeist. And that, when you start to encompass the big picture, you realize it's all maybe an interdimensional thing that deals with our conscious connection and perceptions of reality. And that could really, it's not just people on a spaceship from another planet that coming down to check us out. It could be a lot more terrifying to people as they try to reveal that, and a lot more complicated.
Yeah, well, I always tell people don't be shocked if it's a little closer than that. Like it could be even closer than that. And
like, surprise, everyone's had an extraterrestrial or an encounter with the phenomenon all the time. You're just not aware of it because it's a part of your baseline experience.
Well, it's like Elizondo was saying, sort of the vision,
you're talking about like dark matter and the spectrum of visual light that we can actually see.
Yeah, like the spectrum of visual light, and that 100 years ago we couldn't see infrared.
Right.
It was invisible, but it's there.
Right.
So like as we get more technologically advanced, maybe those things start to reveal themselves a lot more and more.
Right. I mean, the reality is there's so little that we actually understand about the universe. I mean, when we talk about quantum mechanics, what is operating is completely unknown to human beings. We understand a result of the double slit experiment, but we don't understand what's actually happening inside that black box. What's actually causing the wave function to collapse into particle form, and that, my friends, means there is a shit ton about reality that we do not understand. And so, yes. Right. Are we speculating a bit here on the stage when it comes to what these things could be? Sure, but to put it outside of the realm of possibility is a mistake.
Yeah. Sorry, we got a $50 donation from Alex Garcia again. This guy's throwing in $80 to the chat today. Okay, Alex, you might be able to afford another legitimate bill in my Patreon. So check out the Patreon, because that's a tier. It's called a legitimate bill. It's $84 and I think 63 cents or something. Maybe sign up for that Patreon instead of throwing $100 into this chat, man.
Let him throw all the
money. Throw whatever you want. Throw whatever you want.
If I like to spend money personally, if I have money, I like to spend it. Let him spend his money.
Hey, I'm just trying to save the man a little money. I'm just trying. I mean, look, maybe Alex Garcia's got the guts.
Maybe he does, and maybe you should stop telling people how to spend their money.
Hey, maybe the show's just that good, and you need to accept it and not have that imposter syndrome going on, and just own it.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
wow. Carl Vibe throwing down facts. Okay, so on Alex Garcia's dono, he says, "Do you believe UAPs are a national security threat, or the angle is more about capturing Congress funding, or a real threat? I believe that if true, we'd all be slaves by now. Perhaps we are unaware."
Oh man, that is such a good question, and it ties into something that you guys were just talking about, by the way, and I have long been wrestling with this idea that the government is somehow, if we have the right motivation, we're going to do the right thing. I've never seen that as being the reality. It's like we've given them multiple chances to tell the truth. And what is their motivation to tell the truth? I don't really see the motivation. We have cases out there, and I know I've mentioned this before. There's a file out there about in the government about the assassination of JFK, and there was a study done. There was, a huge analysis done. And when the last president came into office, he was like, "Oh, we're going to put that out there because everybody deserves to know." 4 years came and went. Never happened. We don't know, and they are not inclined to tell people things.
There's no incentive. They have zero incentive.
They have no incentive. You're absolutely right, Mike. And to think that suddenly next month we're going to get a thing where they're all going to stand up and go, "Oh, sorry, Congress. Sorry, people. We meant to get around to telling you about the UFO crash in Roswell in 47, but, we just kept getting distracted with the budget stuff, Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I don't buy it.
And there's an aspect of it that is kind of a weapons race, a technology race as well against the other countries. If we have this technology or these abilities, it is in their best interest as the government, as our Defense Department, in order to keep that like a weapons secret or a technology secret to gain advantage over our enemies or perceived competitors and things. So in order to keep that all under wraps, they don't want it to get out, they control what would get out and what people know, and they could play it as a threat, play it as extraterrestrials or whatever in order to get the funding and to keep it our enemies from knowing what we actually have and what we're up to and how far ahead we are or how far behind we are.
Really, Carl, isn't that the last question? Because that's the question. I don't want to give too much away. On our network, we have an upcoming interview pretty soon. But if we had to address the members of the Senate Select Intelligence Committee, I'm not asking you to say, show me them aliens, show me the dead body, show me the UFOs. My big question is, if the government did have a substantial case to say, this is unknown, we cannot identify any terrestrial, any adversarial source for this technology, why is that classified? And that's the question that we've been trying to get an interview with key players to answer. Because, yeah, if it's the Russians, if it's the Chinese, and they've got to jump on us, I absolutely agree. You don't want to tell everybody that. You don't want to let that information out of what you know, what you don't know. But if you're sitting there going, well, this is something nobody can do, what is the and I'll throw that out for the whole panel, Luis. What is the justification if you honestly believe that we're watching something that can't be explained in terrestrial terms? What's the national security threat in telling people, yeah, we don't think it's the Russians, we don't think it's the Chinese, we don't know what it is, but we're working on it? What is the national security threat to say this might be something that's not human? You guys, throw it out to you.
What I'll do is I'll throw it.
Classified?
What I'll do is I'll throw it to Richard before you answer that question, if you can. Please introduce yourself. Say hello to the crowd. Tell everybody where you're from, why you're here, what you're doing.
Yeah, hi folks. Richard from Austria. I'm invited by Baptiste, who is next to me, as a representative of the Austrian scene. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm also a member of SkyHub. Maybe this is an item we can talk to.
Oh, definitely. We definitely will. Baptiste, how you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah. And again, please, tell everyone that's new to who you are, Baptiste, what you do over in France.
I gather every intel you dig out for me and translate it for the French. Globally, that's my work.
Yeah, and today you were working on the Christopher Mellon translation, right, of that Joe Rogan interview, which I'm sure was difficult.
Both interviews. There was one very interesting one with Terry Verst. Not sure how to say it.
Yeah,
and it has some nuggets inside that are really interesting.
I haven't seen that Terry. I think is it Terry Vert or Terry Verst interview? Yeah, I can't remember the name, but yeah, so just wanted to say hi and welcome to those guys. Does anybody have an answer to what Jazz was asking?
I mean, I have a thought. I mean, and I think it's important. And Carl brought up a really good point about this particular question earlier. But you know, I think I think the reasoning is bad. I think the idea is that human beings cannot handle the idea that something is going on that their government doesn't understand. And who on earth thinks their government knows everything? Like nobody. And so this idea that the government sees itself in such a position where it has to, create disinformation campaigns in order to look like a proper nanny is just, it seems so absurd to me. I just don't get it.
Well, imagine if the phenomenon is actually in control of our bandwidth of perceived reality. If we can only see the colors of the rainbow and only hear a certain waveform because they've got us sort of as a species straitjacketed into our perceived reality in order to stay hidden. And that realization would be mind-blowing for people to accept. And when you get into like deep meditation like I do, you kind of have bizarre experiences that kind of peel that dimensional reality aside. But I mean, that could be part of it. What if they've got our perceived reality sort of under control by controlling the entire waveform frequencies that we perceive in reality? That would really have heavy implications.
Most people don't think like you, Carl, and that's like 99.999% of people.
Why they're afraid to tell everybody, maybe.
But I don't even think the government would know that. That's my point. It's like what you are thinking is not something the government would know for certain. So I'd be shocked. I'd just be shocked if that was their modus operandum.
That's true.
From the translations I made, they always use the same arguments. The first is no government on earth will admit it's powerless. How do you defend? It's powerless. They can't defend against it. They won't admit to it. And the other one is, what good would it be for them? What is the interest of a government to disclose the information? If they have no benefit to give the information, they keep it.
Right. No, that's a good point. Belleville throws in another 50 czar and says, Jazz, I suspect it's because it's something that goes way back to the creation of us and why we are here.
That's something that Lou Elizondo, we started off the show today talking about the interview on the New York Post, and I think we're still fighting against at least portions of people who are in power who still strongly believe, and Lou Elizondo has said this repeatedly, that there are no UFOs, there are no aliens, it's all demons. And okay, I'll freely admit, I'm not a scholar in that whole area. Is it demons? Okay, maybe, but it's, they're just sitting there saying, I'm putting this in a religious context. And I'm saying, well, you shouldn't mess with that because that's evil. And I'm not downgrading anybody else's religious beliefs, but that's problematic. Mm-hmm. If you're seeing something physically, maybe there are demons, angels, whatever. But if you've got something showing up on radar, then I just don't think demons is my first go-to answer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of demons, that reminds me, we do have a pretty special announcement today. Last night, demon?
Right.
No, so last night, well, I wouldn't call him a demon, but I would definitely call him a dragon. So last night, well, all day yesterday, I was flirting back and forth with the dragon. He followed me after our review of the first episode of Skinwalker Ranch, and I was like, uh-oh, I don't know to be afraid or to be happy about this. So we were going back and forth throughout the day. He seemed like a very cool dude. He reached out to me, and he was like, hey, by the way, I saw the review. I loved it. I thought you guys made some great points. Right? Yeah, like thank Jesus. And I'm
gonna piss off dragon.
And he was like, and I appreciate that you guys understand we don't edit it. Like, I've developed some thick skin over the years, but I really enjoyed what you guys did. So I was like, oh my God. Okay, cool. Would you like to come on this show and help us review an episode? And he's like, I'd love to do that. So he's going to come. He's going to be on the show the 26th of May. This month, the 26th, this month. And he's going to be here. So that's a Wednesday. So he's going to be hanging out with us for the entire review of the show. I would love to see what kind of review I think we should all, at the end of it, just be like, okay, guys, what are we going to give this episode of Skinwalker Ranch 10s? Everybody just gives 10s all around. and then when we get to him, we'll get his score. And then, of course, that'll be funny. I think we'll still give a real score.
I don't think I can sell myself out like that, Luis.
No, I can't either. I'm going 8.5 max.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, you say that now, but wait till you're in front of the dragon.
Now, I will say, when you sent me that, first of all, I was completely floored. I was like, oh my God. And I immediately went and followed the dragon, obviously. But when you sent me that, I was like, oh my God, what a great guy. Like, what a great, seriously, like, you got to have thick skin. I mean,
Dude, your sense of humor has got to be gold if you watched our review and went, those guys are funny and I like this.
Yes. Yes. Because I was a little mean, I feel like.
I don't know if you were mean. Well, see, now you're backtracking, Michael.
No,
You were mean.
Now
You
you're
were
scared.
mean. You were mean.
No.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna play replays for the dragon of what you said, and then we'll see how badass you are, Michael Mataluni.
Is there a Skinwalker Ranch type location in France that I don't know about?
Oh, good question.
In France?
Good question, Baptiste.
We have plenty of Skinwalker Ranch.
Wow.
We don't know why, but we have dwellings dating back to 20,000 years. So you have a lot of stuff hidden in the hills, and you can find ghosts pretty much anywhere.
I always forget how old France is. Like it is been like there have been humans walking that part of the world and making things. You said 20,000 years it goes back?
For the dwellings, you have the same thing in the US.
Yeah, I know, but for some reason
28,000, I think.
No, you're right. You do make a good point, but for some reason when I think of Europe and Africa and that part of the world, I think it's just like it's the oldest civilized, quote unquote, civilized world. But
it's
cool.
not the same thing, Louise. It really isn't. I mean, I grew up in a house where I would tell people it's like our house is really old. It was built in 1915.
Right.
A good friend of mine named Jan emigrated here from Germany, and he was like, 1915, that's amazing. I grew up next to a castle that's more than 1,500 years old. And I was like, oh, well, back then we were still, I guess, killing buffalo. You know? So there's a different scale between Europe
For sure. So that was the big announcement. I was really wanted to get that out. We were going to talk a little bit more about sort of the Lou Elizondo interview. But I guess we'll end it because I want to get to why Baptiste and Richard are here. But let's end it on this, and I'll ask either Richard or Baptiste. Did you guys have a chance to watch the Lou Elizondo interview, the second part of the New York Post interview today?
Not yet.
Yep.
Not yet. Okay, so Richard, you have. Was there anything that stuck out to you in that interview that was very interesting to you, particularly?
Now, I'm watching the story since a couple of years, so nothing new to hear. But I think the situation that Chris Mellon is balancing through, riding on the edge, just not to embarrass people, not to overstep in edge. It's a political act he's doing. So we all have to be very grateful for what he's doing, and his offering his reputation, putting his reputation on the table, which is very few people are really willing to do.
Very true.
Well, I can only see two as far as, two of the big ones are Lou Elizondo and Christopher Mellon, but I think you're right. It's a political dance. Like what he did on Joe Rogan's show, there were moments where I felt he could have badmouthed a couple of people and didn't. He held back. But he gave hints, but he didn't. I wonder if that's coming. Jazz, do you think we'll ever see the day when Lou Elizondo or Christopher Mellon call these charlatans out by name?
Not until we get to the point where there is an agreement that the NDAs they signed, although mine are nowhere near that level, believe it or not, I'm actually still under NDAs from my time in the military. You know, there's a couple areas I've been working with some people on some stories that may come out at some time. But no, unless we get to the point where the government turns around and goes, we've relieved your NDAs, then no, Elizondo's never going to say that. He's a warrior. He worked far longer than me in more dangerous conditions than me, and was just a soldier, and he worked directly for the head of the Defense Department. He worked for Spider, and no, I do not believe for a moment that Lou Elizondo will ever violate his oath that he took.
Well, that reminds me of the last thing that I found incredibly interesting. And that was when Green Street, I don't know if he pushed them, but Lou Elizondo had basically answered like, we've passed the Rubicon. These things are real. They're in the sky. That is fact. It's been documented for the last 3 years by not only the Department of Defense, but the Navy. So that's the starting point. That's where we have to start this conversation. Is they're in the sky, they're real. What that phenomena is, I have no idea. But here's what I found really interesting was when they got into sort of the nuance of the people that were trying to get him in trouble, trying to cause problems from him, removing his security clearances, and basically throwing a tissy fit that he was having this conversation. What I found interesting that he said was, thankfully, I have friends on. He didn't say the Hill. He worded it differently. Jazz, can you help me out?
I don't remember the exact wording, but I do know that Sue Goff was one of the people that was sent out to attack him. And not in a, like, oh, you're a piece of crap. Just saying, oh, no, we have information. He didn't have any assigned responsibilities, and trying to undermine him. And he addressed that during the interview. And Sue Goff has been proven to be a liar.
Yeah, but he addressed it, but then he also had backing by public figures like Senator Harry Reid, and I'm sure some other figures behind closed doors, but that served public office. My point is that how did these people know who Lou Elizondo was before he was Lou Elizondo, and why would they put their necks out on the line for him? Because I'm thinking, if this guy was special forces, if he was a disinformation, or not a what was his official title in the military?
He was a counterintelligence. The only reason why I think a senator would ever know who that guy was and trust him unequivocally, I'm starting to think that Lou Elizondo was maybe part of some bigger things that who knows, hey, was he there when they caught Saddam Hussein? Was he the guy who maybe was in the helicopter when they got bin Laden? Like, was he one of the, and I think he was the tip of the spear is what I'm saying. And he wasn't one of those guys.
Yeah.
I could tell you from the one conversation I had with him. Yeah. But he was a guy who knew a lot of stuff about Iraq and Afghanistan. But before he came into ATIP, his entire job was to be counterintelligence.
Right.
He had trust by everyone. And Harry Reid obviously has total faith in the guy.
Yeah.
But right now the Pentagon's trying to throw Lou under the bus.
I just feel like he's almost like I think to get that credibility and that backing, you had to have done something not only heroic, but done something consistent and done it for a long time at that consistent level. So that's why I think, like, God, man, was this guy like like I said, the tip of the spear when it comes to our national security and our foreign policy and special interests. I'm sure we'll never get the full story of Lou Elizondo and the things that he was involved in, but I do find that interesting. So with that said, Michael, welcome back. What happened? You okay?
Yes, Wi-Fi crash. So
Wi-Fi crash as you're eating a piece of pizza.
No, I just want to throw something in about
Guys, I
yeah.
gotta
even
run.
know I
Go.
Flag.
Yeah.
So, but please continue on.
Well,
thank you for having me on.
always a pleasure,
Really
Jazz.
enjoyed it.
Tell the wife we said hello.
Thanks,
Yep.
Jazz.
And
All right.
she's not going to be mad at you.
All right, good. Bye.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Michael. I was about to request it.
Okay, so we just finished up with the Lou Elizondo takes on that Green Street interview, which was
Richard
killer.
had-
May I raise a question here
Yes,
about
please.
the Elizondo issue? Because
Yeah.
you said he's a counterintelligence guy. So
Yeah.
why is the DoD putting a counterintelligence guy in charge of the ATIP program?
Right. It's a good
That's
question.
a great
Wouldn't
question.
there be a technical guy much more suitable?
He answered that in an interview. He defined it as what was counterintelligence. It was to know what the enemy knows about you. And he alluded a little about it, but he told in another interview of the fact that these objects seem to observe how we react. So they try to know who we are. And so that's where you can have the counterintelligence.
So it's more a psychological thing. It's more a strategic thinking issue than a technology issue. Because when he was talking about the 5 observables, it's a pure technological thing.
Right. Well, it could also be just trying to figure out what our adversaries might know.
Yes,
You know, because that's part of his that is his modus operandi.
Yeah, and then maybe
like trying to
that.
figure out what does the enemy know about our assets and how do they plan to take advantage of those weaknesses.
And then you run into that wall of intelligence where you realize there's a ton of stuff out there and nobody seems to know what these things are, and then that sinks in and becomes the new project.
Right.
You know.
And do not forget, he also said that he has a scientific background and he wants to be professor in critical thinking after that. So he is everywhere. He has counterintelligence, scientific background, philosopher background. Nobody asked him about it, but I think if you attack on the philosophy side on an interview, you will learn very interesting things.
Yeah.
Did you see Seth's point up there as well?
No.
He said Lou answered that question. He was hired for security to ensure other factions of the government didn't infiltrate Harry Reid's program. Weeks later, he was offered the head position. ATIP was created to infiltrate the Grail Special Access Program and failed. That's why they went public. That's interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I can't verify that, but it's super interesting.
I mean, it makes sense. It doesn't sound that preposterous, you know. It doesn't sound like a huge leap. I mean, if you wanted somebody to make sure that nobody was screwing with a program like this, I think Lou Elizondo would be a good guy.
Good call.
Yeah. So Baptiste, let's get into why you're here, man. Into why you came on the show. What do you got for us today?
Oh, I stole one of your ideas.
Yeah.
So a few weeks ago, you were thinking about what comes after the big phone home, and you have two paths. Either the government decide to release data, probably not. Either you define what's next. So I asked my contact around to define how in Europe we could do something like the big phone home and Christopher Mellon's great strategy plan he just explained on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Right.
The last 30 minutes are invaluable in data. So what my contacts came up with was a network of citizen investigators all working with the same methodology across all Europe and using the same basic tools, feeding the same database. So we can extrapolate the data without pollution or noise inside the data. And that's why I bring today Richard Hopf. May you explain your project?
Okay. You were talking about SkyHub and measuring the atmosphere. All right. So Yeah, the basic idea is to make to create a platform for a global citizenship. So to say that citizens do science, these citizen science efforts. The idea is that every member of the community gets plans on how to build his own hub. So by, let's say, a couple of money, you say below $1,000, you can set the hub with all sensors and software and in a hub so that it's suitable to sit in the outside. That hit a lot of interest on people.
Yeah.
So taking part of something where they contribute their time and money to set up a node in the network to scan our hemisphere and to see what's going on there. I just want to point out, we see SCARP not as purely a UFO hunting endeavor. Please don't get us wrong here.
Right.
UAPs is one on the top list, one on the top bottoms bullet points. That's for sure. That's the basic motive for the most of our community members. But we do have a scientific approach to the whole issue. We want to see what our sensors can see and what we can derive from the sensor data more than what anecdotal perception of humans will bring us. I mean, this is a total value, don't get me wrong. But the human sensor is, and you have spoken about this before, the human sensor is not perfect.
Right.
And there is the little monkey brain in between telling you what it is, what you see all the time. Yeah. You see something new? I know it.
The analytical overlay just paints the picture.
Yeah. It's just a little mechanism that puts everything in a drawer. Oh, a black cat. Yeah.
Right.
So, and then if you have the preset of everything that flies around and is shiny is a UFO, then you see a lot of UFOs.
Right.
And when I contribute to what you said before about the spiritual approach to the UFO phenomenon, I don't have a predefined thinking about this. My approach is when I watch people talk about it, they have a kind of a preset there, meaning ask people how many UFOs they see per day and ask them how often do you look in the sky. Right. So it's always the people who look in the sky who see more than others, of course.
Right.
Of course.
So when you set yourself in a state of, I do meditation as well, to meditate and to make contact, you expect it in a way because you put in effort, you do something, so you expect the results to happen.
Right.
So I would be very cautious. And I'm not neglecting it, that it is not working. I'm sure there is something going on. I just want to say that the human error is too big to
definitely
make precision calls of that.
What is your take on folks who say that this phenomena avoids sensory detection?
Absolutely. The adversaries of the USA, the Russians, they try to avoid your sensors, as the same as the US ships try to avoid their sensors. It's a hunting game. It's an ongoing game in our technology and development. Anytime the other adversary develops something, there had to be countermeasures, and then there are countermeasures, countermeasures, and so forth. This is a spiral.
Yeah.
It's a crazy spiral. Yeah. And I think the only ones who are really getting anything out of it substantially is military industrial complex companies who produce that stuff. Yeah. The countermeasure stuff. Sorry.
Yeah. Real quick, just to give a shout out, Belleville threw another $35 czar in here. He said that I suspect Luis Elizondo might be an official assignment to soften up and slowly inform the world. Doesn't mean he's a disinformation agent. No question here. He's just giving us his opinion. And I agree. I think a lot of people are 50-50 on whether or not this is a disinformation campaign. And I think we've explored that pretty deeply, to a point where it would be one of the most illegal acts in American history if this is a disinformation campaign. And I think Lou Elizondo and Christopher Mellon, especially right now, if they were lying, man, they're pushing really hard. They're pushing really hard, and they've now pushed to a point where they've gotten the Inspector General involved. So, just keep that in mind. Like, that's a serious movement on this topic for the Inspector General to get involved. And I have a feeling that they're pushing and they're prodding and they're poking help that happen. So if they're lying and the Inspector General gets in there and he finds this all BS, I have a feeling that Lou Elizondo and Christopher Mellon are going to be having to answer some really difficult questions. And it's going to put them in an awkward position.
I have about the IG and this whole what we see happening. It was definitely interesting talking to Tim McMillan about this, but how much power, and I wish I had asked him this and I didn't, but how much power does the IG actually have? Because generally speaking, they're mostly what they do is financial auditing as opposed to serious investigation. So I'm just curious to, if they're hearing this from Congress and you're going, okay, yeah, I'll do something about it. I'll make sure we get some direct reports from all these departments. And departments go, yeah, we'll send you somebody, but we're not going to tell you shit. Like, does the IG have any teeth?
I think he's got teeth. He's not. Again, we're like McMillan said, and I don't want the conversation to get derailed. I want to get back to the Sky Hub. I think that you nailed it. The IG's power is able to do audits. Okay, so he can audit how the information's being collected, where it's going, why is it, to see if the information that's being collected is being collected in the most efficient way. Because if he gets in there and he sees, oh, these guys are really screwing around and this shit's got to stop, we need a better flow of information from here to here, that can get done. You know what I mean? And that might not be as sexy as a new video or a new picture or, somebody saying, oh my God, there's aliens. But that is a fundamental change in how the data is collected, analyzed, and then distributed among the Department of Defense. So if let's say they get in this audit, they find that there's information being held at one point, they could go to that one point and go, what the hell are you doing? Right. And like they could see it's like an audit. It's like following the receipts. They they know. But I think that's where their power is.
Well, I think you're right. But in addition, once they get to that point, he doesn't have any further teeth. But what he can do is go back to Congress and say, look, these guys are not cooperating.
Right.
You need to figure out what you're going to do next when it comes to funding.
In an awkward position.
They fund every single organization of the government. So without funding, they're nothing. And so I don't think that IG has teeth, but I think he can report back and say they're fucking about. And you need to step in now.
Yeah.
Did you see this? I don't.
The $5. Well, let me read this $5 donation from Jack Ryan, and he says, "Thanks again for the constant IV drip of UAP info." You're welcome, man. I mean, we are here to tap that vein, baby.
So I know you want to get back to Sky Hub, and let's do that. But Seth, if you could send a link to what you're referring to, he's saying that the IG task force was disassembled already.
I have not heard that.
I have not heard that either. Could you send a link for that?
From what I understood, they were going to appoint somebody, I think, by the end of this week, if not the first thing of
they had
next
5 days.
They had 5 business days.
Yeah.
So I think that would be when did that announcement? It went down on Monday. So that means by this Monday coming up, rather, I think we would have to have that person at least picked out.
There is an interesting point to be made there, because there is a major difference between the US Army and the European armies we have. Yours was created for the Second World War, based in emergency on the companies you had, private companies. But basically, it's an administration. The IG report, its power is not what audit she can do. It's by looking at what's happening. Yeah. When you are an administration employee, you don't want to have someone in your back watching at what you're doing and counting the mistakes you're making. That's the worst fear. Just by being there, they have an impact. They don't need to make a report. Just by saying, we are watching,
Yeah.
That's
It's
all.
true,
It's
man.
an administration.
It's true.
His business is war, but it's
Yeah.
an administration. We
I
don't
mean,
have that here.
McMillan used the analogy of this is like the principal coming into your classroom. You know, like everybody's like, okay, let's be on our best behavior, you know, when the principal's here. Like, and if the principal decides to go through your desk, he could do that. You know what I mean? Like, if the principal wants to go through the teacher's desk, he can do that. You know, and he can be like, oh, well, let me take a look at your planner. What are you guys teaching? What are you guys working on today? Like, they can figure out if that teacher or that class is being run properly. And if it's not, it may not happen that day, but I promise you in the next week or two, there's going to be a new teacher in that class. There's going to be somebody else doing something else in that class. And maybe even the principal might take over the class for a little bit until the new teacher comes in. So I think you're right, dude. I think you're onto something there. And before we get back to the Sky Hub, we got Matthew with a $5 dono. Meeting up with some of the Battelle peeps for drinks later. I'll let them know we are coming for them. All right. Yeah, please do, Matthew. Please do it. Storm Battelle. That's going to be the next hashtag, Storm Battelle. So let's get back to the Sky Hub. Because I think what you're saying, Baptiste, what's next, right? And I think the Sky Hub could be a big piece of what's next. Because I've been advocating, and it's not something that I asked for or really made an emphasis this year in the Big Phone Home, but it's something I was like, maybe it's something we could do next year. And that is to get public funding so universities, organizations like the SCU, people like Richard can apply for a grant to buy a Sky Hub and put it in their backyard. And with that grant, you have to share that data with the government when, you know, once a year or whenever they do their report or whatever it is. And that's I think a great, instead of giving $22 million to a program that we don't see anything from, and it's drenched in secrecy. Let's get $22 million and get some Sky Hubs out there with $22 million. I mean, you know, if once
great idea.
and you're saying like the most basic Sky Hub is $1,000, $1,200, somewhere in that range, you know, and the most expensive one I think is like what, $3 to $4 grand, somewhere in that range.
Not even.
Not even.
Not even.
That's a lot of Sky Hubs.
3,000.
Yeah.
That's a lot of Sky Hubs, $22 million.
Oh my dear.
You know, like, and then what I think would be cool, even cooler, is if, you know, say like an MIT or a Harvard or one of these really high-tech schools, Caltech, if they get, you know, 15 Sky Hubs donated to their university, and then you just tell the kids, go for it. Software, hardware,
high schools and put them up on the roof of the
put them on high school. Oh my God, I didn't even think about high schools. That's a brilliant idea, because we need to start getting the youth involved in these things. You could put a Sky Hub, honestly, in an elementary school, and it would be awesome. Like, can you imagine every week during science class, the teacher brings in the data for the Sky Hub, and he's like, "All right, guys, let's take a look at what we got this week," and then the kids figure out what they're looking at. Like, dude, now you're talking about some serious headway in this topic, because now we don't have to ask for the data. We're collecting it.
Well, and I think that's why you don't even ask the government to do it. You get a philanthropist involved. And once you have that philanthropist, they can start to spread that, you know, the Sky Hubs around. I think that would be a much more effective way to get the data directly to the people.
There is an easier path. And that's why I love the Sky Hub project. It's something you build yourself. It's a non-profit organization. I give you the plan, you order the pieces, and you build a Lego out of it, and you have your sensor array. You can do, and it's not for UFOs, it's for observing the sky. So it's the perfect science project for every school.
You know what's also great about it? And here's what McGowan did before we bring, by the way, UFO Dad's in the chat waiting. My girlfriend just donated $5. She said, made it, just got my second vaccination and I'm feeling generous. Don't spend it all in one place. I'll probably end up buying dinner for her with this $5 at some point. And then we just got another, dude, this guy is going, listen, Alex, you need to go to my Patreon right now and see if you've got the guts. Please. Tell me you have the guts. Okay, just go look at the Patreon and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, Let's read what he says. As Luis stated in his most recent interview, and a misquote, get ready to poop yourself in the next 30 days. He appears to be fully aware of what is about to be revealed, and what are each of your predictions? I don't want to answer this right now, only because I don't want us to throw it off the SkyHub discussion we're having. This is a killer question. This is a killer question.
We have to answer it.
No, we have to answer it. Dad, what's happening? What are you doing, UFO Dad?
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Man, I heard SkyHub, so I'm here.
My dad is dying to get a SkyHub. Okay, so all right, let's answer Alex Garcia's question.
You know what? We should UFO Dad should start a Patreon and only have one tier, and it's the SkyHub tier.
Oh, Dad can afford a SkyHub. Dad doesn't need a Patreon to afford a Sky. I mean, Baptiste said it was.
He is the world's #1 leading purveyor of deep sea fishing.
Yeah.
And Sky
since 1995. So if you can quickly, Carl, what are your predictions based off of this quote? You know, that get ready to shit. I don't think that's exactly what Lou said. I think what he said, the part where he wanted to curse, was he asked them, when you found out these things were real, what kind of moment was that for you? And he was like, well, it was a holy shit moment. Yeah. And it wasn't, he's like, the holy shit didn't really come from knowing that they existed. The holy shit came from, what do we do now? Are we behind? Like, he immediately became concerned that another adversarial enemy of ours could already be working on this, and we're years behind where they're at. That's what he was like. Holy shit! But let's just say what's up, Mike?
Well, no, I'm just curious because that's not what he's saying at all. He's saying that Elizondo made a prediction that something big was coming out in the next 30 days. I'm just curious. Right. Are you sure that's what he's referring to? What you were just talking about?
Well, he said to get ready to poop yourself in the next 30 days. I don't think he said that specifically. I could be wrong. I listened to it twice and I don't remember that coming.
Which interview was this?
This was the New York Post interview, the Stephen Greenstreet interview. So he definitely said, look out the next 30 days. But he wouldn't be specific on exactly what it is. So I think that's really what Alex's question is.
Well, let's comment.
What do you think Elizondo was referring to when he said that? So Carl, what do you got?
I think it's nested like a Russian nesting doll with many layers inside of it. And as the information comes out and you take one layer off and another, it reveals another nest of issues and another nest to the point that it goes back to like, wait, even the technology and everything that we use day to day is accounted for this stuff being recovered clear back in the 40s and even earlier. This goes clear back to maybe World War II and before. It accounts with our human biology. I mean, it could expose so many ramifications from so many different angles about what it even means to be a human, and also what our adversaries across the globe and what they know about this and whether they're working with it or not. And I think as it comes out, it's not as straightforward, like I said earlier in the show, as just spaceships coming down from another planet out there in the solar system or in the universe. That there might be an element to that, but I think the holy shit moment is when you realize how far back this goes and how deep it goes and how big the implications are about what it means to even be alive in reality might get shook up a little bit.
I just want to come like hang out with Carl and like sit by his chair, just have him tell me stories. Like
Carl, I get this vibe. You're in Hawaii. Am I wrong?
No, I've been to Hawaii. I actually live in St. George, Utah. Right.
Oh my God!
You live close to my dad.
Yeah, like an hour and a half from Area 51 in Vegas.
Oh, dude!
So
well,
I want to go to Sky Hub and go sit on Groom Lake Road.
Maybe you and Dad could go get some Sky Hubs. McGowan and UFO Dad could go roam the desert in Sky Hubs.
Alex said it was
Carl
in
has
his
a kick-ass
second
website.
Yeah,
thanks, man.
I mean his channel.
Yeah, well, I saw the RC stuff and I was like, oh, we gotta come out. We got to hang out. That looks fun because that's my guilty pleasure on YouTube are RC channels. And it's weird that I haven't found yours until we met. That's the weird part. But okay. So Richard, what do you think is going to come out in this 30-day, or what do you hope for? What do you think maybe Elizondo was saying when he said that?
The 30 days. Does he mean the 30 days until the Congress gets the report, or other 30 days?
Well, he's said that the report's going to be delayed. He's said that so many times it's not even funny. He assumes it, but I think it's a very good assumption. I think what we're going to get is a preliminary report. That's the other thing he keeps saying, and that's what we asked for during the big phone home, because he's right. Like, look at all the other reports launched in American history. Just take 9/11. The 9/11 Commission report did not come out till 3 years after 9/11. And even when it did come out, there were family members that were not happy with what was in that report, and they never touched it again. So that was 9/11, like that. You figured we'd be able to get any information we wanted off that, but we couldn't. And so now here we are with this UAPTF report. And, I think he's right when he says it's going to be delayed. But I think what the news he's referring to has nothing to do with the report. That's the feeling I got when I listened to the interview. So do you want to maybe take a guess as to what that could be? I mean, it's pure speculation.
Chris Mellon mentioned some things that he has seen and he was sure that it will come out. Maybe he's referring to the same material.
Yeah.
I have no idea. It's just pure guessing.
Possible. Dad, what do you think?
Well, I have to agree with Lou. I think it's going to be preliminary. I don't think it's going to be anything beyond that at this point. One of the things that he was talking about was about task forces and that they're temporary. I mean, it seems to me that what they really need to do is put a committee that you could take people that are in the DOD and all the different committees and make them serve in that committee as well. What you want to do is take other related communities and form a new one, let's say a UFO community, and then put people from those other community put a committee together, and then get people from those other committees that share the Intelligence Committee, the Department of Defense, and all that, and put a few people from those committees and have them share, serve on both. And like that, it's a permanent thing, because what I got from him is that a task force is something that they put together. And
then it goes away.
Exactly. It goes away. It's a temporary thing. And this is just way the hell too complicated to be a temporary thing. This is something that, hey, the cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
Okay. And now it's time to get serious about this. So a committee is the only thing that I would accept as of today, because if they say, we got a task force, I would have said, that's great, but I didn't know that they were temporary. So to me, the task force right now doesn't mean anything. I want a committee. I want something that's going to be permanent, and the feedback is going to be coming in, and they're going to provide feedback to everybody. They're going to open it up, transparency.
Yeah. Well, you know what I found interesting that he said about that was that, and this is what I was asking during the big phone home, I've never heard him say this, was that we want to report every year. He said that in the Green Street interview. I never heard him say that, because that was one of my suggestions. It's like, when we get this report, we should also be asking for a yearly report. Why not? Why would we not ask for that? And then along with that yearly report, then he also suggested, like UFO Dad just said, a committee, like an armed services committee, but we're going to call it the UAP Task Force Committee. And now it's got a senatorial committee connected to it. So now you've got public officials demanding answers from these departments, and now that has teeth, Michael, right? Like, that's something that we're looking for. Right. And by the way, Alex, I'm not saying he didn't say it. I'm just saying the context in which he said it is what I'm getting confused with, because I don't remember 100% how the context was.
And I'm curious when that was recorded as well, because that was probably recorded before the IG investigation came out. So it's actually possible he was talking about the IG investigation.
That's also true. I didn't think about that. That's an excellent point. So, Michael, do you have any thoughts on maybe what he was referring to?
I don't, but I'm actually curious as to what what Lou Elizondo's motivation is in this whole disclosure conversation, because he comes from a place of extraordinary secrecy when it comes to his experience in the field with it in some of these I don't want to say black ops, but you know what I'm getting at. And so, like, I'm curious as to what is actually motivating him for public disclosure, because he seems like somebody who would be very interested in ensuring that, you know, that state secrets are kept. And I'm just curious, and that kind of plays into our whole bigger conversation that we were having about why the government doesn't want to move forward with disclosure.
Well, I think he answered the question in that it was the only reason why he's even came out in the first place was because he was giving this information to his superiors, hoping that his superiors would take it to Mattis, and they were not.
Right.
They were not taking it to Mattis, and he was getting pissed because he's like, Mattis needs to know what the hell's going on with this info. And they wouldn't do it. And so what did he do? He circumvented them and took it to Mattis himself. And that's where he pissed off some people, because all of those people were like, well, why didn't you go through us? Because I tried 100 times and you guys kept dicking me around. So instead of going through you, I went there myself. Because he's got a rapport with Mattis. Mattis knows who Elizondo is. So if Elizondo comes into the room and lays this on Mattis's desk, he said this in the interview. He's like, you know, that general is going to be like, what the hell's going on? What do you need to find out? Well, I need a budget. I need people under my team. I need this. I need that. Like, and that's where that 22 million came from. That's how he got it, essentially.
Right. But then I'm talking about when he went public. Like, why did he go public?
I think it's because he was forced. His hand was forced.
How? I mean, he chose to go public, right? That was a choice.
We have to go back and
dude, I can't get over UFO Dad. How much he looks like he's about to give me the red pill.
I know.
I swear to God.
Honestly, it looks like you're about to fly off.
Just don't take both pills at once.
Yeah, just don't do both pills at once. That's a good advice, Carl.
Don't do what?
Very good advice. Don't. I don't even think he gets the reference.
Like
Dad in the Matrix. In the Matrix, he gives him a choice of 1 or 2 pills. You can stay in the Matrix if you take this one. You could go. You can see what the truth is if you take this one. We're saying don't take both at the same time, Pop.
No, hell no.
Okay, good.
We don't want to do that.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. All right, so Jesus. So
hey,
no,
did you catch the thing about the accident? Where
yes,
when they were
we talked about it earlier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and Jazz talked about that earlier, so I don't want to rehash that part of it. But that was very cool. What's up, Mike?
Hey, real quick, Alex just wrote, watch minute 2635. Question was, is there anything you can disclose that does not violate your NDA? He answered, pay attention to the next 30 days. The conversation is about to get interesting. Okay.
Right. So okay. But you said, Alex, that we were going to shit ourselves. That's where, like, that wasn't the quote. That's why I wanted to get more specific. So thank you for watching that. Thank you for giving us the exact quote. You are the man. But yeah, no, I mean, again, this could be what Michael was saying. Like, the interview was done before the IG came out, the IG story came out. So that could have been what he was talking about.
It's possible.
But I mean, look, I thought we answered the question pretty well. I think everyone here sort of gave their opinions on what it could have been. But we need to get back to the Sky Hub because we're running out of time.
Yes.
So we were talking about funding Sky Hubs, putting them in schools, putting them in
great idea.
And, you know, so what do you think, Baptiste? Is that something? Do you think that the people of France would be able to ask for the government? Do you think they'd be interested, or do you think that's something that we should focus on?
We don't need the government; it's the education.
That's true.
So it's education administration.
Right.
Just
Well, but I'm saying what I'm
every-
saying is like for an average citizen to buy that, it would be difficult, right? Like at least in
But
the
it's
United
not,
States.
It's not that expensive, so
No, I'm not saying you're right. It's not that expensive, but for a family of four, who's a middle income, like it's going to be hard to convince that person to spend $3,000 when they could spend that on a vacation at Disneyland.
We need to find philanthropists who are interested in this topic and have them. Sorry, go ahead, Richard. I don't mean to cut you off.
It's much more easier, as you say. A hub is a sensor hub, which has a certain reach of distance, what it can sense. So let's say optically we can sense 10, 20 kilometers. By radar, we can sense up to 200 kilometers. Other sensors have less. So let's say one hub scans a bubble of a hemisphere. How far is the next bubble to have, the next hub to be, so that we can triangulate to have a very dense mesh, so that nothing can escape that mesh.
Oh, that's a great.
Right?
That's a great.
So
point.
we just need every 10 kilometers, we need another hub.
Right.
So the idea is now, because for the individual, let's say for a 20-year-old who has no income yet, but he has some friends, let's say put together 5-6 friends, everyone puts in 500 euros or dollars, and you get your hub and your services in as a team.
Yeah. Well, Alex is talking about let's start a super PAC. Dude, you seriously need to go to my Patreon and find out if you got the guts, for God's sakes, man. Like, good Lord. This guy wants to start a goddamn super PAC. Like, yes.
I love it.
Yes, that's a fantastic idea, man. It's a fantastic idea. I think you're right, Michael. I think we need some philanthropists. I think we should also maybe throw this by the government too, and see if we could get some public dollars that way for, say, universities or any sort of research facilities. I mean, dude, I just
don't want them I don't want them stealing the data. You know what I'm saying?
But they can't.
How?
They can't steal the data. Richard, please answer the question.
No, this is simple. Because the software is developed by the community. And when you set up your hub and you want to participate in the community, you use this software. And this software delivers all the data directly into the cloud, into the SkyHub cloud servers. And there it is, available to anyone in the world.
Right. So it means they can steal it.
You can't steal. I mean, you have
so who cares? Who cares? Let them steal it. Who cares?
I was saying I didn't want them taking it away from us. I wanted the data.
Yeah, no, they can't do that.
They can't. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
They can steal the data. They can steal it.
Yeah,
I bet they can hack a cloud and take it, but who cares? Just as long as it stays there, and I'm sure there'd probably be a backup of that cloud somewhere. I would think.
Yeah,
they
there's
probably
backup.
have their own data.
So is the object here, if we create this mesh out of these ever increasing network of these sky hubs in place, so if something takes off at Brandon Fugel's Skinwalker Ranch, they see the phenomenon and it's headed towards over my house, the network is able to piece that together and paint a picture of maybe a flight path of an object, or get even more data by enmeshing all of this information together from one sky hub to the next, like an entire
absolutely.
network.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's the final goal.
Right.
But the triangulation is not working on the hubs. It's working on the cloud servers, because there we have to wait until all the data is coming in, and then we can make the analysis upon that.
Right.
But the real-time thing happens on the hub. So there are tons of ideas. So we have a lot of community members. And so with every new community member, there comes in new ideas. And this is very great. So we are certainly having a kind of an app in the future that you can get alerted. And this app will be free for anyone. So you don't have to own a hub to get to use the app. So it's just a response what's happening on the network.
So what do we know about the data that you've collected so far? Is there anything of interest we should be
That's a good question.
We should be aware of?
Yeah, we have tons of insects and birds in our environment. I can tell you.
Yeah.
I question ornithologists, the guys after birds. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I question them because there's so many birds flying around. I question them that they say the birds are retreating. They're not in the cities anymore. I mean, I get tons of recordings every day just because of birds.
Dad, you had a question. I mean, you've been dying to ask a question about this this Sky Hub. So what are your questions? Because Dad really wants to set one up.
Richard, is this something that you get as a kit that you put together, or how does it work? I'm trying to figure out what I need to do to get it and just have a complete thing and set it up.
Yeah. So the procedure is simple. You just join the community as very loose in a Discord channel. There you are pointed to our docs.skyhub.org. There you find all the recipes and all the curated list of hardware you need. You can say, I start small and this is my list, and I want to increase in a year. This is my bigger list. So you're working through the list, buy all the stuff, you can order. There's all the links. And then when all is delivered to your place, you start tinkering.
Okay, so you got to put it together.
You get to put it together yourself.
Okay.
But, because there are a lot of members coming in, let's say every second one wants just to buy it.
Right.
So what we now are doing is a kind of a program, members help members. So
gotcha.
If you say, I want to have a hub, but I have no time to do it, maybe I have two left hands, but there are other members who can do it for me. And the only upfront payment is, I think, $200 extra to have it built. And
yeah, because I'm one of those guys that has two left hands and one doesn't work very well. So I'm not really into building stuff, and when they start talking about capacitors, you're talking French to me. I have no idea what the hell they're talking about, but I am very interested in getting one. I really want to put one here because our skies here are very, very clear. I live just north of Carl. Carl's in the southern part of the state. I am on the northeastern part of the state by Park City, and I am really, really close to Skinwalker.
Yeah.
So our southern skies are super bright at night. You can see forever. Very rarely do we get clouds here. In the winter, obviously, we do. And even in the winter, there's clear nights here. So I want to get one of those. Now, let me ask you something. The software, is it open source Linux?
Yep.
Linux based?
Yeah, it's open source.
Well, that I know how to do. That I know how to do. I'm good with that.
Just join the channel, join the Discord.
Great.
And we'll help you there.
Oh, God, we just got him on Twitter. I mean, getting him on Discord, that's going to be hilarious. I just joined Discord, and I'm like struggling to follow along. So Dad, maybe Discord might not be. I tell you what, Richard, or maybe Baptiste, if you guys could send me a video of somebody setting one up, like maybe taking like unboxing of a Sky Hub. You know what, Dad? Why don't you just YouTube that? Unbox a Sky Hub. I'm sure there's got to be somebody who's I'm sure it's not that hard to find. Yeah.
Someone will do it.
But does it sound like my dad's got the technical chops to set one of these up?
I mean, actually, it's just like an IKEA product. You just need a screwdriver. You don't have to solve anything.
Me too, buddy.
Yeah, that's exactly what IKEA says all the time. Yeah.
That's what Jesus. See, I that is just not my forte to work with tools. Okay, I understand a lot of stuff. I could tell you about a lot of things, and I know a lot of things, but that is not my forte. Art and putting things together is.
I would totally I've been making YouTube videos and editing them all since 2009. I would totally get a Sky Hub and do a whole video about setting one up, and then trying to sneak around Area 51 just to promote how to do it. And and the results and everything.
Oh man, we
Well,
were
Carl-
close to
Carl-
Skinwalker Ranch.
Carl lives in Utah, Dad.
Yeah, I know. I was going to tell him. I'll
So
drive down.
maybe if you want to really add some damn entertainment to that video, give my dad a call. I promise you, it'll be pure gold for any channel.
There near Skinwalker Ranch.
I will fly out. I
would fly out. I would fly out.
For this whole shenanigan.
Yeah. Actually, I kind of want in on this too. I kind of want in on this too.
We got plenty of room here, so you don't have to get a hotel or anything. I mean, we got plenty of room.
I have a Ford Raptor truck. We could go up on this. I don't even want to say the name of the dirt road because I don't want to give it away.
You don't want to give it away. I'm sure it's fun.
There are places you can go near Area 51 where you can see some stuff. And it would be really cool to get up kind of out of view and set some stuff up. And
that would be cool.
We'd get the security driving around us, but if we're not on their property, they couldn't do.
We'd get the camo dudes.
Yeah, they drive white Ford Raptors, and they don't mess around. They come right up to your window and look right at you and shine their spotlights in at you, and they do not mess around. I've been out.
We'll pull Dragon into this and
oh my god. Oh my god. Can you imagine if we showed up with UFO Dad and Carl Vibe's Ford Raptor with a sky hub in the back and Dragon and then the camo guys pop up with their fancy flashlights and they see the Dragon. they would turn face and go right back the other way. That's right. Yeah. Wow. We're going to sit here and take pictures all night. Ain't that right, Mr. Camo?
We could do a tour that goes from Skinwalker Ranch to Area 51 over by the Grand Canyon. We could visit all the weird petroglyphs around that show ancient alien stuff and make it like a whole tour.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Dude, wow.
Luis, we have to do it.
That sounds killer.
Maybe Alex will fund it for us. Alex,
I can tell you for sure. Yeah, right. Yeah, Alex. Well, I just followed him on Twitter, man. He's serious about this super PAC. I'm like, Jesus.
I just followed him on Twitter too. Make sure everybody go follow Alex on Twitter.
Yeah. Okay, so Baptiste, Richard. We're getting close to the end of our show here. We're going to start taking some calls. So if you guys want to stick around, you can. You're more than welcome to. I'm going to let all you guys, please tell everyone where they can find your stuff before you go, if you decide to go. I can't wait to have you guys back because that was fun. Is there anything about the Sky Hub or what we talked about today that we didn't get to that you really wanted to talk about?
What could be a great idea is to create a Kickstarter. If you want to expand the network really fast and people don't have the money at all to create the hub, you can create a Kickstarter non-profit and distribute the idea.
That's not a bad idea. I mean, if we had a Kickstarter with the Big Phone Home, that could be cool. You know, if we raised $20,000 and bought 10 Sky Hubs for the SCU, say, or something like that, or a local university out here in California or Utah, whatever. It's not a bad idea.
No, really, we should do a shout out to all groups or interested or STEM organizations who want to just bring young people to this idea. Definitely. Yeah, I think Kickstarter is a great way to get young people interested in it. All right, boys. Well, real quick, Baptiste, tell everyone where they can find your stuff and your new translate. By the way, Baptiste translated the entire 3-hour Joe Rogan interview from English to French. So he's like, I wish we had enough time just to talk about that, because I have a feeling you know that interview better than maybe anyone on the planet right now because you had to translate it. So we need more time. You want to come back Monday? come back and hang out Monday if you want. Let me know. I'll drop you the link because I think we need to. It's fair, right? We need to talk about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, please come back.
I've translated 12 interviews with Luis Elizondo. There was more intelligence in the 2 interviews with Melon than in the 12 with Elizondo.
I agree.
Wow.
I couldn't
agree.
compress it. There was just too much intelligence inside.
I agree, man. There was a lot of really good moments in that Rogan interview that people are just kind of skimming past. They're not really listening to what he's saying.
Exactly.
And it is some incredible stuff. So we have to, Michael, you have to listen to the interview because I know you haven't had the chance. So that's something you got to do this weekend so we could talk about it. And Jazz has also got to do it, but it's a long interview, man. Like,
You talking about the Melon? Chris
Melon. Well, there's really
I'll
two
watch it.
interviews. There's two interviews you need to watch. And Melon dropped it on his Twitter account, and it was with that astronaut that interviewed him. So
And very interesting too.
very interesting
good.
interviews. And God, I could not imagine translating it what you picked up on because I was listening, but not as intently as I'm sure you were. So come back. I'm trying to. I don't know who's coming on Monday, but we'll make an hour for you to talk about this because I think it's important. But I think we're going on later Monday, so maybe next Friday. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I know it's late over there in France, so I don't want to kill you over there. Richard, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
Oh man, it was fun, and I'm glad you and my dad hooked up on the Sky-Hub. Do me a favor. Where can everyone find everybody find your work on the Sky-Hub?
Domain is skyhub.org, and for people like your dad, just jump in at chat.skyhub.org.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. Baptiste, what do you got?
So for the English, it's EU for UAP on YouTube. For now, it's still sleeping because I have to build the whole network before launching serious stuff on it. And Europe is a pretty big federation. So there is a lot of work to do. We are looking for new members on the eastern border of the European Union and in Portugal. That's the two separate areas we are lacking. And you can send an email to eu4uap@gmail.com and you get in the network immediately.
Real quick before you go, Baptiste, how because I've been told there's a big interest in the UK right now for doing a phone home. How big is the interest?
It completely changed in 2 months. What I did with EU for UAP is build trackers to check where the data was coming and the relevancy of the data. And in 2 months, the madmen at UAPmedia.uk completely changed the balance of powers there for the subject. So they still have to work their governments and punch it, but honestly, they are on a very good way, and I'm stealing all their stuff. They are the best on the subject.
Okay, well, if you guys need some help putting that together, let me know. I think it would be very cool if you guys did a big phone home that was in multiple languages that reached out to all the, parts of the union. Somebody who speaks about this entire, their half-hour block. You got the half or the hour block, you're the host of it, and you talk all in French to all the French people, tell them what the hell is going on, and then somebody from another, wherever, Holland, the Netherlands, we need to have an all. I think that would be the play if you guys did it. It can't be in just English. It can't be, it's Europe. Like, we can't do it in just English. So I'll even help you host it if you guys want. I can do whatever you guys want me to do. Especially if you're interested in starting it. Any help, don't hesitate.
I think it would be a very interesting thing to create a meeting like your live stream with UAPmedia.uk and some of my members across Europe, and we can discuss how to create that in Europe.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, let's do it. I look forward to you coming back next week. Let me know what day is best for you, and I'll make sure Michael's here so we could really dive. We haven't done it, and it's insane that we have not done this yet because the interview is already 3 or 4 days old, but it's so long that it's hard to get everybody to listen to it because everybody's working.
It's done. Take notes when you listen to it because they talk about it like it's yesterday afternoon, but it's really important to detach each sentence and understand the meaning behind it. It's marvelous.
It is marvelous. All right, Baptiste, we'll see you soon, my friend.
It's been a pleasure. Goodbye.
Later,
Goodbye.
Baptiste.
Killer show.
Yeah, killer show.
Killer show. We've got a caller already in line. He was here the other day, so I want to make sure we get him up right away. Lucifer, what's happening,
guys.
buddy? Sorry we didn't. We're doing really good, man. How are you?
Not too bad, man. Last time we had those freak power outages we get in California my way. So like right before I was about to come on, everything turned off.
Yeah. No, I. You know what's weird is that hasn't happened to me yet out here in California. It's happened like 3 or 4 blocks away, but not in my house. I mean, knock on wood.
Yeah,
you know, like I can't believe it because I'm in a very densely populated area of Los Angeles, and it's old. You know, like the power poles are old. Like I'm just waiting for the summer to cook it all to the ground.
Yeah, it's terrible out here when it gets hot.
Yeah,
you'd think we'd fix that problem by now, but no.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of problems out here, but let's not get into that.
Sure.
So what's up, Lucifer? Thanks for coming aboard, getting weird. Thank you for calling again. Sorry we didn't get to you last week.
Yeah, no,
what's your question, bud?
No, I just wanted to stop in, say what's up, say I'm loving the work you guys are doing.
Oh, man, thank you.
Yeah,
Lucifer just joined our Discord channel too, as well.
Yes, he did. Yeah. Oh, by the way, we have a Discord, guys. We have a Discord. I don't even have the link to it in my Linktree. Is it in your Linktree, Michael?
Not yet. I gotta put it in there.
We'll put it in there.
Hey, I'm gonna pop it in the comments.
Yeah, pop in the comment. Yeah, join our Discord. I don't know how to use it still. Oh my God, dude! We got the super pack in the house, man. Alex Garcia's in the house, yes, and then Rather's in waiting. So, dude, it's gonna be great. This is awesome. I cannot wait to talk to Alex Garcia. Garcia, before you come on this show, have you gone to the Patreon? Give me a thumbs up, yes or no. Not yet. Okay, all right, that's fine. We'll still bring you on the show. Because there's no extra access for anybody. Everybody gets the same access here on the Unidentified Celebrity Review. So Lucifer, no question. But thank you for the love, man. What else you got to say?
Yeah, I do have a question though. I posted
fire away.
in the chat earlier, but there have been reports of people talking to beings on substances like DMT, and so I was wondering, what is your guys' thoughts on communication that way? Because there's a lot of the theories about interdimensional kind of stuff like that, and there was a book that was written talking about these experiences that people have with beings on another plane. Do you think that can have a correlation between the subject?
That's a great question, and you know who's going to have I think a great answer for this is Michael. But I'll let you think about your answer, Mike. And I think Carl's also going to have a killer answer for this.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to ask
I'm going to have him repeat the question as I was transferring the Discord into the comment section.
Oh my God, Michael! He was talking about DMT and seeing beings while you're on DMT, and whether or not that correlation has. Yeah, look at his heart rate just went up. As soon as that's like you're speaking in his wheelhouse right now. So I've never taken DMT, but hearing the stories of Joe Rogan talk about it, it piques my curiosity, that's for sure. And I think it's also fair to say that the demonization and the stigma that was attached to psychedelic drugs in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s really stunted a lot of research into those drugs. Right. And so that's my opinion on it. With that said, I'm going to bring in Garcia to the chat, and then I'll let Carl and Michael take a swing at this. What's up, Alex?
Hello.
Big time spender in the chat, buddy. What's going on?
All good. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, dude, the pleasure's ours. So before we get to your question, Alex, and your super PAC idea, what do we think about DMT, Mikey?
I am convinced that based on what we know about quantum physics again, and what we know about the very fabric of reality and how spooky things get on the quantum level, I'm convinced that psychedelics have an extraordinary ability to circumvent the default mode network of the brain, which is the brain, part of your brain that goes, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. That talks to you all day long. When you quiet that part of the brain, it's very similar to what happens in meditation. You're allowing access to different parts of your brain to experience the world in a different way. And so psychedelics are a quick trip into that headspace. And I certainly think that if you're accessing that level of inner space, you are definitely in communication with the quantum level in a way that maybe none of us really understand. And so I'm fascinated by that area of study. And I believe that there is an enormous opportunity for science to begin to research these sorts of brain states that would allow us to see things that are connected to the phenomena. So I don't have any unequivocal answers. I have personal experiences that I'd be happy to share another time. But that's my take on that.
Do you think it could be used as a communication tool?
I do. That is a hypothesis I would like to see tested.
And Michael will be the first person to sign up for that one. Carl, what do you got?
Well, I think there's definitely validity to it. And I think that there's a lot, especially from the meditation angle. I've personally also had a lot of experiences. I've never done DMT myself, but there is what I've studied a lot about this. And the government might actually have a division. Alex Jones, I know he's very conspiratorial, but he actually has claimed several times that they're mapping the DMT realm like it's an actual realm, meaning they can revisit the same places within this DMT realm more and more times. I just got distracted by UFO.
Yeah, there goes. There goes. No, you got it straightened out. I was hoping it would still be crooked.
No, I saw that. Hey, listen, I gotta cut out. I don't want to interrupt you guys.
Yeah, go for it, Pop.
Real quick. Later,
Love
UFO Dad. Real quick, I'm trying to put the link in here, but it doesn't seem like it's showing up in the chat. Are you guys seeing the link to the Discord channel in the chat? Can you let me know?
Put it in the private chat, and I'll pop it in there. Actually, you know what? I got a link for it. Sorry. So I'm sorry, Carl. You were saying about mapping out the DMT.
So it's like they can basically, in a controlled way, revisit the same places, and they realize as they record the information that they end up going back sometimes, or other people will go to a place someone else has already been, and they can correlate it. And almost like if you were to have a dream and realize you're at the shopping mall and only in one section of the shopping mall, and then somebody else has a dream in the same place, you can kind of correlate a story together and realize it's a real dimension of reality that can be revisited. And also the beings that are encountered, or the entities encountered on these DMT trips, a lot of times are kind of consensus very similar to each other in certain aspects. And then you also have reports a lot of times of collective experiences where like a group of people will all use the drug or do even ayahuasca, which is also kind of affects the brain in the same way. And they will all have, even though it's separate people, up to 30 different people, they will all experience and see the same entity or the same being during their trip. And so the possibilities of that having a connection and having to do with your consciousness, again, goes back to how we're kind of straitjacketed and confined into our limited perspective reality from the day that you're born and begin to understand and name and label everything. And normally in meditation, you would go up and seek isolation. You would go turn all the lights off, or if you really wanted to go there with this, you would even control the sound frequencies in the room with harmonics, and meditate in a particular way to get into an altered state of consciousness in order to try and trigger these sorts of encounters. And really all you're doing is getting out of your own day-to-day repetitious state of mind into an altered state of consciousness. So instead of seeing just the colors of the rainbow and all their combinations, suddenly your mind is able, like an antenna, to change its dial and perceive other signals or other information. And you can get downloads of information or perceive almost an entity trying to make contact, or feel like you're having a time travel experience or all kinds of things depending on how you approach it. And I've actually even used meditation and the same kind of method and used a reverse remote viewing sort of method where instead of trying to see somewhere that you've never been, like spy on Area 51 or something like that, instead you send out that this is where I'm at, and like Google Earth, this is exactly where I'm at while you're meditating. And then you look up and there's a UFO in the sky. And I've been able to do that a couple of times. It's very, very fascinating.
Oh, wow.
So the connection with consciousness and your ability to perceive things and the DMT is all has to affect your perceptions of reality that are already innate within the person. And I think the drug just sort of hijacks that, whether you like it or not, and forces the perceptions to open up and your consciousness to perceive other things than your fixed three-dimensional interface that you experience every day.
I agree with Carl.
That's
a big answer.
I think perception is like the big thing that's stopping a lot of from us from what we're seeing. You know, it's perception, and I don't think we can perceive a lot of what's going on, not only in the sky but like everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, so it's opening up the perceptions of, you know, our eyes, but also our minds, you know, to all these new ideas, and not keeping ourselves limited like that, you know.
Yeah, when you take your normal day-to-day perceptual experiences and then you just yank the cables out of that and your aperture opens up, you can experience and see other things that are there, and the hypothesis is that those things are real dimensions and real entities.
Yeah, I think from personal experience, I mean, the biggest part that I don't know, because I in a psychedelic mushroom state, that was something that I experienced, but what I don't know is to what level I seeded the intention in my mind, and to what level that is a reality, right? Because I don't know if I'm creating that connection, that telepathic experience, or if it's something that's actually exists outside of my brain. And so those are the kind of key things that we need to explore scientifically.
Or both of those things interfacing in order to try and make contact in a certain way. So it's just your subconscious filling in the gaps of what you can't fathom in that altered state of mind.
Excellent point.
Lucifer, I don't do drugs like that, so I don't have a philosophical answer like these two guys just did. So, I mean, how did you...
meditation for me.
Yeah, no, for sure. What was that pretty satisfactory answer?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm always glad to be part of the discussion, but yeah, that's a satisfactory answer if I've ever seen one.
All right, my dude. Well, hey, we appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much for being such a killer supporter and just constantly talking in our Discord. Now we have a Discord and then Twitter, dude. You've been awesome, man. So we feel the love and we appreciate it.
Anytime, man. I'm always here.
All right, my dude. We'll see you soon.
Cheers.
Bye. Okay, so before you say a word, Alex, you sent me your LinkedIn, and I have to read this. Okay. So, Alex Garcia, Senior Level Executive Corporate Strategy Development and Implementation. Strategic leadership, accountable, and leads with ownership. As a foundation overcomes complex business challenges using personal experience, judgment, and data. He's worked for Entravision Communications, Director of Distribution at Sony Pictures. Have you seen my independent film that I just got into a film festival? Because I need some distribution and I need a little bit of money to make this. It's pretty damn good. I think I'm gonna have to send you the link. It's pretty fun. So Alex, dude, you absolutely destroyed the super chats today. You were very active. Thank you. You saved me another day from not working. You've made this my job officially today.
This is the goal is for this to be work.
Correct. That's what I'm just saying.
Right.
I'm saying
Another
you made this
Uber.
my job. Today this was my job thanks to you. So
yes, exactly.
Thank you, sir.
No.
To what do we owe this pleasure?
Now, you know, you guys are extremely intelligent. I enjoy the way you guys develop the topics and attack every single issue and question that people are talking about. So obviously, I think that garners support. You guys deserve the support. You guys deserve people to be able to keep enjoying. And I guess my contributions are to help you guys do that. Okay.
Dude, I thank you. Thank you. We love you. And please go look at my Patreon. I'm begging you to just go look at just look at them. Just look at them and figure out which one works for you, Alex.
Alex seems like a pretty strategic guy, and
that's his job.
Okay, so I would venture to say he gets a greater ability to have influence here in the super chat.
Definitely.
Because you don't get extra access in Patreon, but you get extra access in the super chat.
A little bit.
Hey,
Mike,
am I wrong?
Mike, there's a reason why Luis Elizondo doesn't say everything that he knows.
Strategic strategy. I mean, senior level executive corporate strategy. That is literally your title.
I'm just saying. There's
I love it.
To his madness.
So, Alex, tell me. Well, dude, we love it. Thank you, because we make this show for folks like you who get the show, who get what we're trying to do. So honestly, man, from the bottom of my heart, we really appreciate that you understand what we're trying to do here. And
by the way, supporting a fellow Latino.
I love it. Well, Alex Garcia, Luis Jimenez. I mean, yeah, dude. And you're in Malibu, so we got to hang out, that's a definite. So
we got to go surf. Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't do surfing. I'll watch you. I'll you know what? I'll take a couple drone shots of you surfing. I don't think there's a board big enough to hold me. Let's be honest.
Dude, of course there is. There's like 12-foot boards. There's, that can hold you.
All right. Well, then maybe a wetsuit would probably be my next issue. But you know what? Let's not talk about that here. I want to know what you said. Super PAC in the comment section. What do you mean by that? Like, how would you start a super PAC for a UAP discussion?
Well, I don't necessarily think it's that complicated.
Okay.
You really have to form the legal entity, go with a lawyer that knows exactly how to form a super PAC, write up the language about, what that super PAC supports, what it means, what the governing board behind that super PAC is mission, what their background is, and why they're doing what they're doing. And once you have to put it up for government review. I forgot the name of the agency specifically, but you have to go up through, I think it's the FCC or.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And then and then basically you're formed, right? And you can go out and you can start soliciting money from organizations, individuals, and everybody in between, and even international funds, right? And that's not necessarily something that's illegal. So really the super PAC's function is you can't necessarily lobby Congress or people in government with these funds, but you can influence, for example, programs that they support. You can influence.
Somebody wants that hiking trail in Utah and the governor can't get the money for it. We could be like, well, hey, we've got that $2 million for your trail if you support our super PAC.
And as you know, money walks, right? And money talks louder than anything right now. And that's why I think I've been thinking about this idea for about a month and looking into it, casually. So I think it's something very doable. And there's so many people interested in this very topic at this moment, even more. Mm-hmm. So, I think you guys, Carl Vod, Calamity Mike, Luis, and everybody in between, you guys can really rally up a lot of people to put money into a super PAC. And not only that, there's private individuals as well that are very wealthy that also want to do this, right?
Yeah. Well, that's why I have a $500,000 a month tier in my Patreon.
I don't think anyone has the guts.
For that millionaire who's got the guts that wants to take the show to the next level.
Dude, you're really pushing the Patreon.
Well, look, money talks, right? Money talks. I'm honestly, I'm just having fun because I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. A super PAC is a brilliant idea. Oh, geez, dude. Can you imagine if we go into next year's Big Phone Home with a super PAC? Like,
let's do it. Let's talk about it.
Let's definitely talk about it. I've hooked up with you on Twitter, Michael. Let's have a meeting with Alex and let's see what we can do here, because I'll be 100% upfront with you. I don't know if I have the time to run a super PAC. Like, I just my plate is so full right now. But I want to know how it would work, who would run it. Can I be a chair on it? Can I, you know what I mean? Like, I want to be involved, but I just don't know if I could be the lead man on it. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's something that we can talk about. None of us need to be the lead. We can actually hire people based on the funding to kind of run it, right?
Right. I like his head.
That's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, that's right. Real quick, Luis, in the private chat, copy that link that I put in there and put it in the comments. The link you put in didn't work for the Discord server.
Yep, you got it. So Mike, what do you think about that?
I think it's fucking amazing idea.
Dude, I'm gonna do me a favor. There is a link in my Linktree that says you could schedule to be on the show, but when you click on it, you can also request to be on your show. Just request your show, and we'll treat it like a meeting, and me and Mikey will go there. Scratch that. I'll just reach out to you through Twitter, and we'll set up a meeting through that, because that it only blocks out certain times. It's just not going to work right. So as soon as this show's over, I'll reach out to you. I'll put you, me, and Mike in a discussion, and then we'll set up a meeting early next week and see what we can figure out.
I have a Zoom account, so if you guys want to use that.
We use this for meetings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you could put this software in a private settings and have meetings just like Zoom. So we're gonna make this happen. We're gonna make this happen. It's gonna be a blast, dude. Mr. Garcia, is there anything you'd like to leave us with before you go?
Yes, gentlemen. Keep doing the work you're doing. I really appreciate it. I think this conversation needs to be had, explored, and really, really drilled into people's heads. And by the way, yes, one more thing. Please tell people on UFO Twitter to stop posting the Starlink, videos as if they are like UFOs. I'm kind of sick of it. Taking a hold of the conversation.
Yeah, that's an uphill battle you're fighting, my friend. You ain't never look. They're still posting videos from the UFO in Jersey that was a blimp. Like you're never gonna stop that
Starlink thing. I actually saw that, and I was out in my hot tub at like 6 a.m, and I saw it coming over, and I hadn't heard about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, what the hell? I ran in and woke my wife up, and she came out and saw it, and then she was smart and Googled it and was like, it's Elon Musk.
The most interesting thing you said in that little moment there, Carl, was you were in a hot tub at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
What were you doing at 6 a.m. that you needed to get in a hot tub?
I haven't used an alarm in like 5 years, and my natural biorhythm, I get up at like 6 a.m. now when I quit trying to use technology.
But you went first. You woke up and just went right to the hot tub?
Oh yeah,
dude, that sounds like the most amazing life in the world.
I mean, look, I can't fathom it being. I'm not. Listen, bro, I'm not judging here. Okay, I'm trying to live vicariously through him. Like, if I could wake up naked and just walk straight into a hot tub, I would do it, Michael.
That's my life.
There's no judgment
Michelle
here.
Will pay you $4.99 not to.
Dude, I love taking baths, dude. So that's right up my alley.
Me too.
I just don't have a tub. I don't have a tub big enough for me. The only tubs that I've ever found are the ones at Vegas. I go to Vegas, I'm like, this is great. It's like a pool. Anyway,
we're gonna have to get together and do this Sky Hub promo thing, and we'll start at my house.
Dude, it's gonna be sick. All right, Mr. Garcia, thank you for stopping by, sir. We'll be in touch.
One more thing.
What do you got?
Mention.
Alex, you can say as many things as you want, bro.
Yeah. You put $100 into the goddamn chat. Go for it. You know what? Everybody else out of here. Alex, this is your show. Congratulations. This is now the unidentified Alex Rodriguez or Garcia review. Yeah, dude, it's your show, dude. Go for it.
Real quickly, I was going to say, I think every time somebody talks about this UFO phenomenon, it really, none of my liking is that people tend to shift it to the paranormal. I don't think this is a paranormal conversation whatsoever, but they seem to think that it's like one entity, one how would you say? And I'll say it, alien race or alien.
Yeah.
What if it's multiple? What if it's a lot of them? And that's why there are a multiple array of vehicles. And I don't necessarily think that anybody is even addressing or asking that question from Luis Elizondo, because first, we already got the question answered regarding are these real or not? And we're like, okay, we're kind of satisfied there. We're not going to ask more questions. But nobody's asking, are they coming from, are these only one? Is it different types? Are they coming in from different, are they some are interdimensional? Are some coming from other worlds? I mean, nobody's asking these questions. So I just want to throw that out there.
No, I think the reason why you probably won't have people asking those questions is because a lot of the questions he gets comes from mainstream media. You know, like if you want to see a good conversation that dives deep and really cuts to the bone on the question you're asking, go watch Jamarl Thomas's interview with Lou Elizondo. Jamarl Thomas was the progressive, he's the host of the Progressive Soapbox. He's not a UAP channel whatsoever, probably one of the best progressive political thinkers I've ever heard. And when he came on our show, everyone he's a magnet of information, and his questions to Lou are, and it's probably the most underrated interview that he's done. Nobody goes to this interview because I don't think they go.
Which
to
one
this
is it again?
Jamarl Thomas, the Progressive Soapbox. Just look Jamarl Thomas and Lou Elizondo, and I promise you will not find a better interview. Well, and he dives into the nuts and bolts of the thing. Go for it, Mikey.
Oh, no, I just had a quick comment in response to your question, because it's very interesting. There are actually high-level people in government. So, for example, Paul Hellyer in the Canadian government, he's the ex-Minister of Defense, I believe. He said there are absolutely multiple races. And then Haim Eshed, who is who was the
Israeli godfather of the space program in Israel.
Yes, yes, exactly. And he said the exact same thing. Now, do I take these guys at face value? No, I take nothing at face value. But it's very interesting that you have people in such high levels of government saying the exact same thing that you're talking about. So there are people talking about it. I just don't know.
Well, both of those men.
I agree with Lou as well. I think a lot of these guys are getting interviewed by mainstream media, and that's not a part of the conversation.
Right. Well, and both of those men that you just said, both of them will admit to you they didn't have direct eyes on that data.
Yeah, I remember that.
Those are things they've heard. But
which is crazy. Like, heard where?
It is crazy. Well, I mean, who convinced the Minister of Defense in Canada that that's real?
Right.
That's the question people should ask. Yeah, but I mean, when he's asked, okay, well, can you point to any data, any information, and he can't find anything because it doesn't exist. Yeah.
Sorry, it's interesting that on our own planet, you can't even walk along the beach and look into a tide pool without seeing a whole host of different life at all different scale and sizes. Right. And yet everybody just assumes that this is one thing. I totally agree with you. Yeah. It's like the universe is, if anything, like a giant extension of the ocean, just like if you're going to go stick your face in the ocean, like if it could be everywhere and just outside of our understanding of perceptual reality. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, we've been kept in the dark. Gentlemen, have a great night. Thank you so much.
Oh, man, thank you for finding us. Thank you for being a fan. Thank you for the kind words. And, yeah, we'll see you very soon, Alex.
Likewise.
Ciao. All right, Rather's back. This is one of my favorite faces that calls in every time. I love this guy's face. But before we get to Rather, real quick, I know you've been holding for a hot second. Belvet Piet, who threw in another 35 Czar. This guy's killing it with the Czar. Luis, I commend your opinion, but maybe you could do something extra for Patreons, like cool T-shirts, hoodies, and stuff like that for Patreons only. No. I'm never going to do that.
He said, you get no access.
No access. Nobody gets special access. Nobody. I will make T-shirts. I will make hoodies. I promise. These things are coming, you guys. But I'm one man. I'm one man. And I honestly, if I'm going to do shirts and hoodies and things like that, I want to make sure I'd wear them. If I wouldn't wear them, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to pump out shit that's shit. I want it to be good. I want it to look cool. I want it to have a cool artist design. So those things are coming. I swear to you, they are coming. You will find out about them first, probably, because you are on the Patreon. You're part of the Discord. So you know me on Twitter. So you'll know it as soon as I do. But no, I'm not going to do that. As much as I love your czar, as much as I love you being here, I'm not giving anybody any extra access to this show on any level. Not my mother, not Michael, not the person with the guts. Like, that's the whole point of the channel, dude. Everything comes at you the second we make it. So, thank you, but kindly no. I hope you still love us. So rather, what do you got, my dude?
Well, yeah. First of all, Bellevue and Alex, I think, represent your high roller community. I'm a proud $1 a month giver to your Patreon, so I represent the low roller community.
No. Rather, here's the thing.
Well, we all get the same access.
You get the same access, rather, and
rather.
You know what I'm saying? And you get to call into the show whenever you want.
And you deserve every penny. Really.
I appreciate it.
All
I appreciate
100
it,
of them.
Look, and rather, don't feel pressured. If you want to be a no roller, I'm good with that, baby. Don't sweat it. Don't you ever sweat it. You will always have access, my friend.
Appreciate it.
No sweat.
I had a question about Luis Elizondo. So, there was a question earlier about Men in Black, right? And so I watched the show Mirage Men, the documentary, a couple months ago, and I couldn't help get that feeling in the back of my head that Luis Elizondo kind of seems like a really great version of Richard Doty, right? Like Richard Doty was stringing along the UFO community and kind of telling maybe some truths, maybe some half-truths, trying to, get us off the track. Luis Elizondo, he has the same history. He's telling us
they don't have the same history. Understand that
Elizondo's a Cuban.
No, not even that. I'm saying the level of work that they did for our governments was completely different.
They are both counterintelligence agents, though, right? Like that is there.
I don't know about Doty. I don't know if he was counterintelligence. He was CIA. Okay. He definitely, the way Elizondo explains it is that he was operating way outside of his job purview. He didn't have permission of any of his superiors to do what he did, and he never got promoted, which tells you, like, he fucked up. Like, whatever he was doing, he wasn't allowed to do. Whereas with Lou, if that was the case, he's been getting promotions. You know what I'm saying? It's like this guy's been promoted all throughout his career, whereas Doty stayed in the exact same spot, doing the exact same thing. And if he was a disinformation artist on that level, I think he would also be getting promotions. He'd probably still be working for the government instead of trolling us at conventions. Like, I don't know why people take pictures with that dude. Like, he literally killed somebody. He drove somebody into an insane asylum. And that guy died because of the shit that he did. A really smart person that he did this to. He destroyed an entire family based off of the shenanigans he was doing.
You talking about Doty? Holy
Doty.
moly.
Yeah, no. You gotta watch the documentary. Rather, just talked about the Mirage Men. It is one of the best UFO documentaries I've ever seen, and it gives a lot of explanation behind the cattle mutilations that we've been seeing, and it gives a lot of explanations as to lights in the sky above those mutilations.
Rather, drop a link later in the Discord server for everybody to go check that out. That'd be dope.
Yeah, I think it's a free documentary on YouTube or something like that even. But Richard Doty himself is interviewed on it, and it's fascinating. But you can kind of tell that he seems like a scumbag even from the interview. And that's the complete opposite of Luis Elizondo. Like, he seems completely sincere and like a really cool guy. And I guess my question to you all who've had personal interaction with him, does he kind of exude that same authenticity?
So nice,
even like off air and stuff like that?
He is a nice guy. He gave me his phone. I'd never use his phone number. I've never once texted him. I always go through email because I feel awkward even doing it. But he is, look, he said yes to do the big phone home and he showed up. Like, if that doesn't show you who that guy is, I don't know what else would.
I think there's a big difference too between you see Rick Doty basically going and doing a bunch of fantasy storytelling and all this, like he's got his finger in every single pie, and he goes on the Gaia Network and on Cosmic Disclosure and tells all these big stories. And what you see Lou doing is trying to get a government response and accountability, and he's helping as a member of the public now to try and do that, which you make a good point. Like it could be two different types of hat in the same organization, sort of counterintelligence to mix that up. Like one person trolls and the other guy plays this card. But at the same time, when you look at over time, the personality characteristics and the integrity and what their motives seem to be behind it all. And it seems like you have Lou Elizondo also working side by side with Hal Puthoff, who is like founder of the Stanford Research Institute for remote viewing and all of that kind of stuff, and telepathy and all those studies, all the way back into the 80s, who was working with Ingo Swann, the leading remote viewer in the world, and they're studying all this stuff. And he's also working with Chris Mellon, legitimate people, representatives from the government, who are all still standing right by his side. And then over here you have Rick Doty talking about aquafarian dolphin aliens and things on Cosmic Disclosure. It's a completely different representation of the facts. And so I think when you look at their character and what their intentions are and motives, you can kind of see through that a little bit.
Have you seen the Richard Doty parody accounts on Twitter?
They're hilarious.
They're hilarious.
That's the only Richard Doty I actually like. I was gonna add something to that, but my camera got fuzzy and I'm having a little bit of a brain fart.
It's all right. God. I'm exhausted.
No, it's okay. Anyway. No, well, we got Alien Girl. She's gonna be the last call we take. She's waiting in the wings.
I'll stick around for Alien Girl, but that's it.
Yeah, we've almost been going 3 hours, you guys. Damn, I mean, it's been.
I've been online all day.
I know. That was me yesterday, dude. That was me yesterday. All right, we're gonna get you out of here. I swear. In 10 minutes, I swear. God, what was I gonna say about Rick Doty? Yeah, look, dude. Okay, this was what I was gonna say. You know who reminds me a lot of Richard Doty? And I'm probably gonna get some flack for this. Bob Lazar.
Really?
Yeah, big time.
I thought you were going to say Kermit the Frog.
Big time. I mean, he's almost. Sorry. They almost have the exact same sort of smirky, smuggy attitude when it comes to when they tell their stories, you know. And it's just something because it's with Richard Doty. There was truths sprinkled in there. That's what sold his story, and I think it's the same thing with Lazar. There are truths in there. But I mean, could you imagine if Bob Lazar ended up being just a disinformation thing like Doty, where he was like, and he didn't even have permission. Let's say he didn't have he just did it for the kicks, man. He did it because he's an eclectic dude, Bob Lazar. But I don't want to make this a Bob Lazar show. Rather, you got anything else?
No, that's an interesting connection. I love it, and thanks for the answers.
Dude, always, man. Thank you for being here. I love this guy's face. I swear to God, you're my favorite face every time you pop in here. So, open door. Anytime. See you all.
All
right, my dude. Bye. All right, so last guest of the night.
Hey, guys.
Probably the best guest.
No.
Hello, Alien Girl. Amy.
Hey, guys.
How's it going?
Good. How are you guys?
We're doing good. Michael's exhausted. He's been online having meetings. Look, he's got a tie. He talked to a tech expert today, and last night we almost got to the singularity.
You're this close.
So close. so close. So what's up, Amy? What do you got?
Nothing, dude. I'm just happy to hang with you guys. I found time to jump on the stream. I told the fam, I was like, I gotta go say hi. Super fun yesterday because we were listening to you guys in the car, and you guys were talking about how your wife and your girlfriend get pissed off about it.
Oh, well, I don't know. No, they don't.
No, okay, maybe not.
They don't get pissed. Okay. My girlfriend is super understanding.
Right.
There was a moment I think where I might have upset her because she was in a meeting and she thought maybe she could work at her desk while I was doing my show, and she quickly realized that wasn't going to happen. And then she was in the bedroom working for 4 hours, which was not fun for her. But she wasn't mad. She was just like, you could tell she was frustrated. But she supports me 100%.
She's going to start getting mad with all these super chats where you're like, just goofing off for 2 hours and you get paid. Like, she can be like, what the?
Yeah, what am I doing?
I got really sucked into your talk last night on Garage, UFO Garage.
Yeah.
Because you were talking about inspiration.
Yes.
Anyway, it's more like life stuff, but the Big Phone Home was a big event.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me because we were talking about the New Yorker article last week. Mm-hmm. And I remember the first part was about Greer, right? About the citizens hearing.
Yep.
And that was the last time I ever heard people trying to rally to actually make it happen. Mm-hmm. And I remember last week I was like, it's crazy because it's in the New Yorker. And up until then, but it was never acknowledged really in a high quality publication like the New Yorker until last week.
Right.
So I was thinking about it this week. I was like, the Big Phone Home, a vortex has been opened.
I hope so. I hope so.
And I think it has. And the shift comes from I think I really am into more of the techno UFO shows that are like, what's that? And you're in the chat, you're like, that's a giant mothership. Oh my gosh, I see the baby alien. I'm into it. I have fun with it.
Yeah.
But since all of this has been happening, I'm finding that my friends who do that are not just feeling, but being framed as being less and less credible.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me because these are the OGs. They've been doing it 10, 12 years and taking the crap the whole time, taking you're dumb, you're stupid. And now it's this whole new line of people who are super into it have come out. And it's they're like, oh, those are just the guys who play UFO videos with techno music.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting how it changes. And I feel like nobody understands the relevancy of the Big Phone Home yet. I mean, that's me personally. Yeah. Obviously, everybody has different opinions. But anyway.
I think Jazz would agree with you. Jazz also thinks that we actually impacted some things. Because, the thing about that New Yorker, and look, I know the guys that you're talking about, and it's going to be, it's just going to be tough to get a senator to pay attention to someone who plays techno music while they give, UFO videos. That's the tough part. But the beautiful thing about that New Yorker article is that magazine right now is sitting at the hottest restaurants in DC, and every lobbyist, congressman, senator, journalist, any tastemakers, they're all walking into lobbies, hotels, restaurants, and that is going to be something that is seen everywhere for the next 2 weeks. That'll be sitting on a coffee table in some important restaurant, and we're not going to know what the blowback to that New Yorker is going to be for probably 2 or 3 months. But people are going to start this is why. I got Michael, I got Carl, I've got you come in. Why you guys joined the Big Phone Home is because when people start becoming aware of this conversation, they're going to be rushing to find information on it. And when they go to ABC, when they go to CBS, when they go to Fox, when they go all these 3 alphabet networks, they're not going to find shit. They're not going to find anything on this topic. And that's where I think we're going to fill that void. So, it's important that when we fill the void, that we fill it with something that people can really rely on.
Agreed. So it's made me rethink my show, which has been interesting for me because the progression of it when I started was I would just have a beer, I'd put on some techno music and start talking about my favorite things. And I'm very knowledgeable. I really am. And not like trying.
And by the way, when I say
to
techno
smack.
music, I'm not talking about your channel. I'm talking about the channels that you were talking about. Like, I don't think you should change a thing on your channel because you're reading things, you're showing factual things while you're doing your show, and then sometimes you also go into the things that you love, that you geek out for, but you also are prefacing it with, hey, I'm a geek for this shit. This is fun. Like, let's look at it and have fun. And so that's, I think, dude,
she's also bringing up an alternative and interesting point, and I've heard this from the UFO community as well. And when I started doing the debrief, everyone was ragging on me for like showing up at a T-shirt interviewing Avi Loeb, right? And they're like, "Hey, bro, do you think maybe if you're going to be somebody who's going to help like the mainstream understand disclosure, you might want to fucking put on a shirt and tie?" And I was like, "That's a really good point."
Right, perception is huge. Yes,
perception is huge. Right.
Yes, and it's And it, like, for me, like, there's these moments where it's been fun. It's ufology's been fun for years and decades. Like you were saying last night, like, oh, this happened, that happened. It's almost like we're Trekkies and we know all these different alien languages or whatever, and nobody gets it but each other, right? And it's just interesting to me because it got really real after April of 2020. Everybody started changing, and then especially this last one came, and then it started to feel more serious. And so you sit there and you're talking about it, and you're someone who's knowledgeable about it, and you want people to take in the information. And just like Michael's saying, I have these moments when I see all of this coming at us. It's coming at us really, 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 really fast, and then I get really nervous, and I'm like, I don't know if we're ready for Roswell debris. I don't know what we're ready for. I don't know if we're ready to find one of these craft in the ocean that has been abandoned.
I'm ready.
I know you are. We're all ready. We are all ready.
I think, honestly, you know what? I would recommend checking out Alejandro Rojas did a great dissertation. He put a really cool slideshow essentially about the religions of the world and what would happen if disclosure happened. And at the end of this, I think you'd be comforted in that he doesn't think it's going to get crazy. The first week of it there's going to be a lot of questions, a lot of confusion, but then things will settle down. People will have to go back to work just like they did after 9/11. And people we're going to have to get back to normal. And I think that's what's going to happen. Is 100%. Religion's already talking about how they're going to explain this. They've been working on that for a little while now. So I think they're going to be fine. Personally,
and honestly, the idea that everybody's going to not be able to handle it might just be part of the propaganda game to get the bandwagon mindset that no one can handle this. And so when really that's not true, everybody's really kind of bored and wants something to happen.
If my T-shirt without a tie can step in for a minute,
go for it.
First off, thank you. I think the thing that we can't handle the most of, it's not the fact that we're going to find a ship in the ocean or that we're going to find this technology. It's going to be the fact that our government and all governments are going to have to reconcile the fact that they've hidden this for 70 years, and how much could that technology have changed the course of human history over those last 70 years? And they're going to have to justify the secrecy, the lies, and the holding back of that technology. Imagine if that technology could have saved my grandfather from cancer.
Right.
I mean, imagine if that technology could have saved the Amazonian rainforest from deforestation.
Could I maybe answer that from the government?
If you had a tie,
exactly, Jeremy.
If you had a tie, we would really take you seriously.
And that's what it is, because I'm not Dapper Dan.
No. But what I was going to say, let me play devil's advocate and give you an answer from the government standpoint. We were scared.
Sure,
we didn't know what it was.
Accept that. In today's woke society, where you have certain phrases that were acceptable 5 years ago that now get you fired and ostracized, we are not going to accept the fact that, I was only following orders, or I was scared, or we didn't know how to release it.
It's a good point, but the difference is that, let's just say, for example, we found out it was 0 point energy technology.
Sure.
Okay. that's not something you're going to admit to your enemy, and that's definitely not something you're going to admit to the American people, because it's a dangerous tech. If we don't know how to use it, if we don't know how to apply it to anything, why would we ever say anything to anybody?
But
And maybe it took him. No, but what I'm saying, maybe it took him 70 years to really finally understand it, and it hasn't been until the last 10 years where they're like, okay, I think we got a good grasp on this. Maybe we could start slowly talking about it.
That, you know, if the government can explain to the world's population that we didn't release ZPM, zero point energy, until we figured out how to use it, that's one thing. Right. But if it comes out that we had 0 point energy when we're bombing every nation in the world, and we have been using it, Desert Storm. I mean, I may not have broken my spine in Desert Storm if the government had released this technology.
Right. There may not have even been a war. Exactly. It's very complicated.
So there's a hell of a reckoning, depending on how they explain it.
Reveal how much the people keeping this quiet and trying not to release it are receiving money and their constituents to get reelected, and things are from the oil industry or from industries that would completely collapse if this type of information came out, because the technology would immediately become like Blockbuster and go obsolete on them. And we're talking about multi-billion-dollar organizations that are funding some of these political groups that.
And we have a historical precedent. We weaponize everything.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So with that said, I'm looking at Michael's face. I gotta let him go home and spend time with his wife and eat some food. Carl, thank you for stopping by. Amy, thank you for stopping by. It's always a pleasure, my lady. McGowan. You know the door's always open for you, my dude.
Come time. Domestic responsibilities. I'm getting ready to take my daughter to her jiu-jitsu class. So.
All right, man. We'll have some fun. Carl, we'll see you later. Amy, we will see you soon.
Yep, I'm around.
All right, oh, wait, hold on a second, real quick. Carl, tell everybody where they can find your stuff. I kicked you out of the room. Didn't let you.
The channel I'm working on now is Carl Vibe, just the same name that you see on the screen. If you look that up, that's me on Instagram and on YouTube. I have a whole family channel called Carl and Ginger. We're going to be overhauling that in a little bit. So
I don't know why it's enormous. It's a huge hit.
I know. I might just start incorporating this kind of stuff over there and embed it so that the audience is built in. So
that's so cool. That's so cool.
I would say start with some UFO RC stuff.
Yeah, well, I'm honestly thinking about doing the Area 51 thing and going over there. Yeah,
well, McGowan, did you catch that part of the conversation?
I did not. I was actually driving home.
Carl lives in Utah. My dad lives in Utah, and who was the third person that I'm missing here? Anyway, we were talking about taking some sky ups, and Carl's going to get a sky up. My dad's going to get a sky up. I was like, well, we could take McGowan out there and maybe really get some stuff, So, this is going to happen. I don't know when, but it's going to be awesome.
Oh my God, dude, I'm
real quick, Amy, where can people find your stuff?
Oh, yeah, sure. You can check out my YouTube channel, Alien Girl 111, and you can also check me out on Twitter, Alien Girl 111 as well. It should pop up.
Awesome. When I was on my bike today and I looked down at the clock on the phone or on my display, it said 111, and I thought of you.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right, Amy. Thank you for stopping by. Yes, Carl, thank you for stopping by.
Bye, Carl. Bye, Jeremy.
Jeremy McGowan, we miss your mouth offs, man.
Hey.
Well, you know what I do love? You know what I do love is he's doing his own mouth offs on his channel. He's like, I took your ID, Lou, and I'm gonna do my own mouth offs. I'm like, fucking great, dude, awesome, go for it.
I don't have to have a disclaimer.
Yeah, well, that's it's not fun.
Yeah, McGowan's mouth off is officially representative of the ideas, thoughts, and opinions of
McGowan.
Of the McGowan channel. Yeah. You could just give a disclaimer that you agree with what's about to be said.
Yes, exactly. No, it's these time zones, man. I'm on Pacific time, so when you guys are doing this,
I know it, man.
But I gotta give it to McGowan because he's got the nuts when he changes his mind. He's got the nuts to share that, and I respect the crap out of that, man.
I appreciate
definitely.
That. I appreciate that.
I would. That's why I love the McGowan.
What the hell we're doing? None of us know what we're doing in this, man. We are.
I have a tie. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, you do.
Michael clearly knows what he's doing. Michael
well, he knows the
what
rest
he's
of us
doing.
have no idea what we're doing. We're speculating, we're guessing. We don't have answers. We don't have deep secrets. We don't have access. We're just guessing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm guessing too.
Well, guess is fun. All right, McGowan, we'll see you soon, my dude. Have
Enjoy.
fun at jiu-jitsu?
Yes, jiu-jitsu.
All right, my man.
Later, McGowan.
Peace.
Bye.
He's such a cool dude.
He's the best, man. Michael, thank you for sticking around, bud.
I love you, man.
Yeah,
I'm
dude,
here
I
for
love you, dude. I'm glad you had a great show last night. That was fun. How many people were watching, by the way?
I think we had like 30 live.
Dude, that's great.
Yeah,
That's great.
first show.
brand new show. That was awesome, dude. Congratulations, man. That was a fun discussion.
Yes.
I loved when Deep popped in there, and honestly, Jeremy Reese, dude, like, I love that Deep was like, what do you think about that, Jeremy? Jeremy's like, well, thanks for asking. Let me give you 10 years of the data that I've been looking at. Like, dude, he's just packed with so much. We got to start bringing him on more.
Yes. And I'm excited too, because we're going to have so many more guests on the show. We're going to have a huge rotating panel. It's going to be freaking amazing. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, this show
keeps getting better and better too. Like
every week we get new people that agree to come on the show. I mean, we take calls, we take video calls from our guests. Dude, we got the most active damn super chat ever anywhere. People killing it on the Patreon, people liking, subscribing, sharing. Like, the love is felt. The love is absolutely felt, dude.
So cool.
So we got a Mother's Day show on Sunday.
Yes, we do.
You want to tell people about that?
Yes, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, right here on the Unidentified Celebrity Review. My mother, Mary Ellen Mataluni, will be joining us. Luis's mother, whose name is
Marcia Barbara Nelson,
are going to be joining their adorable sons. Right here on the Unidentified Celebrity Review to talk about UFOs and UAPs.
Yeah, and Skinwalker.
It's be wild.
Wait till we tell your mom that the dragon's coming on the show.
Oh my God, my mom's a huge Skinwalker Ranch fan, as you know, and
maybe we'll bring her on for when the dragon comes back.
Oh my God, she would love.
She would freak.
Oh my God,
it's a good idea.
And she's this very outspoken Italian woman. She is a riot. Yeah. When I was growing up, all my friends, I couldn't stand her, but all my friends adored her.
Love it, dude. Love it. All right, Mikey. Well, I'm gonna close the show.
Yeah, man.
On Eclectic Methods video, but I don't want to play the music over us talking because it's got some cool visuals with it.
Yeah, let me pitch real quick. Let me send people to my Linktree real quick because I want to make sure people are subscribed to the Singularity Lab because Luis is joining me over there on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I just want to make sure everybody who's in this chat, make sure you go over there and subscribe.
Basically, between Michael and I, we're giving you a show every day of the week.
Every day of the week.
Two of those days are going to be about the singularity and reaching that point in technology where we merge with it. And then 3 days a week, we're going to be talking about UAPs and UFOs right here.
Yeah, and something interesting as well about the Singularity Lab is I'm very curious about what the phenomenon, how that integrates into the singularity. And I think there's a lot of shows we can do, a lot of discussions we can have on that topic as well.
How about this, Michael? How about when we reach singularity, do we become the phenomena?
This okay, bro. You're getting my gears rolling, bro.
I know we could go another 2 hours right now. I love this topic, man. I really got deep into it last night with the guys at UFO Garage. So go check out that episode because I think I'd laid down some pretty wild theories down there.
Oh yeah, I haven't even caught that yet. I'm excited to see that. And then I had the opportunity to interview on the debrief today Ryan Tanaka from Neuropod about Neuralink too. So if you're not following the debrief, make sure you go over to the debrief, follow that, and check out that video from today with Ryan. That dude is smart.
Dude, I caught the last 5 minutes of it.
I saw you. Yeah, I
was like, "Hey, what's up? I'm here." Yeah, I'm out. I gotta go, man. I'm exhausted.
Dude, I'm with you. It's been wild.
All right, dude. Well, it was a fun week. Good, a lot of information. We still have not gotten to the melon stuff.
I'm gonna
that's homework for the weekend.
I'm on it.
Yeah, because I think we could talk about that all next week. Honestly, like it's 3 hours of Christopher Mellon, so there's a lot of moments in there that are insane.
I'm actually I've got some new stuff coming for the lab here. I've got some new stuff to build up back here, so I'm going to be building and listening this weekend. So it'll be
excellent. That's a perfect opportunity. All right, my man. Well, I'll see you soon, brother. Always a pleasure, dude.
Always a pleasure. Love you, man.
Love you.
Late. Back.
All right, you guys. Thank you for being here. Before we go, of course, I want to say thank you to the sponsor, BlueMarlinChronicles.com, purveyors of the world's finest fishing tackle since 1995, and also known as UFO Dad. We also want to say thank you to DOS Tapes. They provide all of the music you hear on the show. Their SoundCloud link is in the description below. If you haven't already, smash the subscribe button, smash the like button, share the video if you loved it. Of course, visit my Linktree down below. It's got my Patreon. You could schedule to be on the show, schedule me to be on your show. There's a ton of stuff in the Patreon, so definitely check it out. Man, some killer conversations today, some killer ideas. I cannot wait to get with this guy, Alex Garcia, talking about a super PAC. Like, these are the kind of conversations that are popping up in this show, you guys. And we're going to change the world. I know that's a crazy thing to say, but I don't think it's an understatement. And I don't think it's hyperbolic bullshit. I really think we're going to change the world in one way or another. How significant it will be, how it will look like, I have no clue. No clue, but I know it's going to happen. So, and that's all because of you guys. Every single one of you that donate, that are here and just showing your love and support, like however you do it, we welcome it. So with that said, I'm going to leave you guys with this cool little video from Eclectic Method. I think it's a lot of fun. So you guys check this out. And then when this is over, I'll go back to playing some DOS tapes so you guys can jam with me a little bit while we close the show. An epic 3 hour and 10-minute show. And you guys stuck around for every second of it. So thank you so damn much, man. Thank you so damn much, all of you. All right. I'll be back. You'll see me here in a couple minutes. Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a flying saucer. Alien? Alien life. This is an alien. Alien control. Alien. This is an alien. Alien control. Alien? Alien life. This is an alien. There is intelligent life out there that's so far away you'll never contact it in your lifetime. I'm telling you, it was the most humbling experience of my life.